Debate, hosted by WSFA 12 News and the Alabama Department of Archives and History. I'm Mark Bullock, joined by a quite large audience here at the Archives building. We want to thank our hosts for having us, and we also want to thank our partners that are sponsoring tonight's forum. Those are, of course, Faith in Action Alabama, One Montgomery, the League of Women Voters, and the Metro Montgomery County NAACP. All of you are watching on one of various streaming platforms of WSFA 12 News. So we would encourage you, however you're watching, go ahead and share this link on your social media to let your friends know that this is happening. Maybe you want to call or text them and let them know that we are streaming live right now, and that this stream will also be archived and made available between now and Election Day, which is coming up August 22nd. We're going to hear from the candidates for mayor. The 4 candidates for mayor are on the stage with me right now, and we'll start with that race. And later we'll be joined by candidates in 7 of the 9 city council districts. Those are the 7 districts that are competitive this year. 2 of the city council races were not competitive, and there was only 1 candidate in each one of those races. And those city councilors have actually already been considered elected now. And so they will not need to be participating in our forum tonight. Our incumbent mayoral candidate, Stephen Reed, he finished his first term as mayor, and as you know, he was a former probate judge who just 4 years ago made national headlines when he became the first African-American mayor of the city of Montgomery. He is hoping for a second term, and he's running against 3 challengers: Marcus McNeil, Barrett Gilbreth, and Victoris Felder. We want to thank all of the candidates for joining us this evening. If you'd like to give them a round of applause, now would be the time. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer their questions, and we're going to start with just a chance for you to introduce yourself and give a statement. So this first 60 seconds is not necessarily a question, it's just a chance for you to welcome the audience and tell us what you hope you bring to the city of Montgomery. And we'll start with the incumbent, Mayor Reed.
Well, good evening. I want to thank everyone for coming out and thank everyone that's viewing online. I'm Stephen Reed. I've been honored to serve as your mayor for the last 3.5+ years. It's great to be the mayor of your hometown, and I think considering the progress that we've made here and the tremendous strides, we've been satisfied by our results. We know there's more work to do. We know there are many more challenges ahead, and we hope to be able to continue that. But we know that for us to really succeed as a community, it takes all of us working together, public and private sector, nonprofit and for-profit, grassroots to grass tops, to really make this city go. And we've had that success, we've had that support over these last few years throughout crisis and other challenges. But we look forward to telling you more about our record and what we hope to do for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now on to Mr. McNeil.
Hello, my name is Marcus McNeil. I am 29 years old. I am a native of Montgomery, Alabama. I'm running for mayor because I feel like it is time for us as a city to show the nation that we are unified regardless of our race, religion, or where we come from, that Montgomery is the melting pot of the nation. We have everybody here from African American to Caucasian to Indians to Koreans to Hispanics. We are a melting pot, so much so you can even start to drive across this city and tell what section you're in. That's how much we are diversified in the nation. And I think the nation has the wrong picture of Montgomery today. I think they think we're still divided, and I want us to go to the polls and show them we're not. I want to open the platform for the next generation of leaders, young millennials that consider everybody and that has a different way of thinking, an energetic way of thinking, and that we are all unified in the progress that we make here in the city of Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbreth.
First, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having this event. Thank you to the Department of History and Archives for hosting us. Thank you for WSFA for broadcasting this forum. Running for mayor was never, ever in my plans. I didn't come from a political family. I didn't come from a wealthy family. I'm here because I love Montgomery. I've worked very hard. I had to work myself through school. My wife and I have worked very hard to provide for ourselves and, more importantly, to provide for our family. I believe in Montgomery. I want to bring my outsider thinking, my creativity, my willingness to find creative solutions to be a champion for all of Montgomery. I'm running for Montgomery because I believe if we work together, we can create a Montgomery that every single person who lives here is proud to call it home. And I hope to earn your vote on August 22nd. Thank you.
And finally, Victoris Felder.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoris Felder, and I'm running for Montgomery, Mayor of Montgomery, Alabama. This is my second time running. I was also a candidate in 2019. That year, one of my childhood friends, Xavier Smith, was killed to gun violence in Montgomery, and I felt the need to come out and show the candidates at that time that we need more sense of to take this crime thing serious. So as the past 4 years have gone by, we've seen some of the most violent years in the history of Montgomery. And I feel as though with my 15-year background in the Department of Corrections that I can implement a plan to decrease crime within our city. We need more programs for our youth. We need more youth development programs. We need more economic development in underserved communities. So we're hearing a lot of things, a lot of great things that's taking place, but we're actually not seeing them with our eyes. So I want to bring honesty and integrity and accountability to the leadership position of mayor.
Thank you very much. This first question is, again, a broad one, which will allow you to focus in on where you'd like to. Our first question is, what is the most pressing issue facing Montgomery, and how would you address it as mayor? As we move into this second set of questions, we'll start with Marcus McNeil first. Mr. McNeil.
I think the most pressing issue in Montgomery would be our education system. That stems off into many different areas of at-risk youth and our youth committing crimes, and being the largest group of young people and group of people arrested by our police force. So I think we have to take a hard look at why they are not succeeding at our education system, why they're not graduating, why we have 18-year-olds sitting in multiple grades in our school system. And we have to begin to partner with the school system, not only partner with the school system, but Montgomery is too big not to have its own school system. I don't want to do away with MPS, but I also want parents to have options and alternatives. So I believe we should, as a city, as a unified body of people, should begin the footwork to do the research, hire the attorneys, the consultants, and the data analysts to see if we can support our own, and then take it to the state to get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you. The most pressing issue and how you would address it, Barrett Gilbreth.
The most pressing issue to me is the most pressing issue that I've heard from every citizen I've talked to. And to a person, everyone's number one issue I've talked to through this race is crime. We have a crime problem here that I believe starts at home. That can be fixed through several ways. We need to get our community centers back open. We need to offer in-home programs through those community centers, and also through our charitable organizations that are already working in the communities, because they have a better opportunity to reach these kids younger and have an impact in the home. I think another way to help stem the crime problem is, as starting young, would be to offer a pre-K program here in Montgomery that is a free public program offered in the city. But again, to the root cause and fixing the actual crimes, we have to enforce the laws we have. We have to work to grow our numbers in the police force. We will enforce the laws we have, and then we can make a difference as a community and all move forward together.
Mr. Felder, the most pressing issue and how you would address it.
The most pressing issue is obvious, is crime, the murder rate. This year, it seems as though we're on the way to have our deadliest year in the history of Montgomery for the second time within 4 years. I feel as though we need programs that are community-based. We need to get a better view of, or overall have the police engage more with the children in the community. We need to have young kids want to be police officers again, want them to be firefighters again. Right now, the narrative that's being painted is to be against the police. And right now, we just don't have the proper leadership in place to engage and to make sure that our youth sees the police as a friend, not as an enemy. So I feel like community-based programs and more community engagement would be one of the things that I address and something that would make the city go forward.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Reed.
I think the most pressing issue in the community is that of public safety, and that's across the board from 911 to police, fire, and rescue, EMA as well. All of those that come under our public safety umbrella, including our municipal courts, are challenges for this city. And these are challenges that we're having and we are addressing. What you've heard from many of the other candidates for mayor is what we have presented in our transition plan 3.5 years ago, is what we have presented in our strategic plan and policies that we have implemented across the board. And so not only have we increased spending in our police department in the budget for the last 2 years, we've also increased pay raises. We've also implemented retention and recruitment bonuses to make lateral transfers a lot easier. We will see our largest class of police officers coming up in just a few weeks, more than what we had all of last year. So despite national trends, we are trending in the right direction when it comes to recruitment and retainment of our police force, and we'll continue to work to get better.
Dovetailing off that, gun violence has become a major problem in cities all over the United States. We've seen an uptick, and of course Montgomery is no exception. There are various discussions about how you deal with gun violence, whether it's early intervention, whether it's gun control, whether it's mental health care. How would you work as mayor to address gun violence? And if you'd like to talk about other crime as part of this question, you can do that. We'll start first with Barrett Gilbreth.
I think gun violence is obviously the most important part of the crime story that we talk about. We've already heard we're on pace for over 80 murders, and all of those are going to be with a gun. There's a lot of talk about permitless carry that was passed here, and I think a lot of this stems from the early intervention that we've talked about, and we've got to do a better job with our community centers getting to our young people, because it ultimately boils down to a respect issue. We've lost our way in our society where we don't respect each other as humans. And when that happens and we can't get to these kids early enough, then they devolve into things that ultimately lead to gun violence. Now, you can talk about permitless carry and all of those things, but even that remains, it's still illegal to possess a gun under the age of 19, permit or not. But again, this stuff starts in the home. We have to do a better job in our community centers and our 501c3 organizations that are already operating in the communities, in the homes, to start these kids on the right path so they don't go down the path that leads to the gun violence.
Victor Esfelder, your thoughts on gun violence and other crime in Montgomery?
We see how gun violence is plaguing the communities. The excuse of crime is up everywhere and the fact that we just have to deal with it until it passes is not acceptable. But I've also seen research where gun violence has went down. I've seen research where crime has been reduced. So I feel as though, again, if you have a strong leader who's not going to accept the excuses of, well, crime happens everywhere, we just have to deal with it, then we're going to continue to see the results that we're getting, deadly years after deadly years after deadly years. So again, I think you have to have someone who actually wants to control gun violence, who actually cares about the people, who actually cares about seeing loved ones crying and seeing dead bodies on Facebook and other social media sites. So it's a want thing, and that's something that I really want to do as far as decreasing crime and getting gun violence under control. I feel as though you have to reach out to the people that's in the community that has the influence over these people that are using the guns and committing crimes. So that's something that I would look into.
Thank you, Mr. Felder. And Mayor Reed.
Well, I think as it relates to reducing gun violence, we created the Office of Violence Prevention. We are the first one in the state to create this department in our city. We have had other cities now reach out to ask us how it is making a difference. Second, we've taken over 1,600 guns off the streets. We have been very active and proactive in doing so. The other part is we work with gun buyback programs and other initiatives to make sure that we're doing everything we can to take guns out of homes, take guns out of the hands of people who should not have them. But we've also worked with organizations such as Everytown, Moms Against Illegal Guns, to lobby not only state but also federal legislators to make sure that they are passing laws that respect and respond to the community, not over police chiefs, not over the Sheriff's Association or the District Attorney's Association or even over mayors. So it's one thing to put some messaging out about what they're doing on the front end, but at the same time, they're passing laws that are making it harder on the back end for all of us as cities.
Marcus McNeil, your thoughts on crime specifically when it comes to gun violence?
My thoughts on gun violence is that the city was dealt a blow by our governor when she signed the permitless carry into law. And we cannot lay down and take it. We just cannot sit idly like, oh, we're just going to let it go by. No, we have to unify as a group of people, sign petitions, hire attorneys, and if necessary, file a lawsuit against the state until they know that we, the citizens of Montgomery, are serious about our streets and our communities and our youth. It's one thing to arrest someone with a gun, take the gun, but if you put them back on the street, black market, and put the gun right back in their hand. What is the difference of collecting endless guns if we don't fight back in the legal system to take our right back as citizens and to say who can and who cannot carry a gun in our community and cause a threat to our household, our family, our property, our future, our youth, our kids, our tomorrow?
Moving on to question number 3, and we'll start with Mr. Felder on this question. What are your thoughts about the need for a civilian review board to oversee the Montgomery Police Department? There has been discussion about this for several years. In fact, I believe the current mayor has discussed it, but it has not yet happened. What are your thoughts?
I'm not against it. I don't feel like now is the correct time to do it. If we're short-staffed on officers and we have the violence that we have taking place in the city now, I don't think it's fair to put more stress on them, to ridicule and criticize them even more in a process of citizens may not understand the policies and procedures that the police go by. So again, if we're going to have someone to explain the training, what would they understand? What policies of MPD would we want to relate to them that they should know and that they shouldn't know? What legal aspect of it? How far would the views or opinions or input that they have to get the justification that they want if an incident takes place with the police officer? So I think that's something that we need to carefully review before implementing, but I'm not against it. I'm just not for it at this time with us being short on officers.
A civilian review board, Mayor Reed.
Well, listen, this is something that we campaigned on in 2019. We've been trying to get it passed through the council since that time. It's something that the community has given us feedback they would like to see. It's something that other cities in this state have had, including Birmingham, for a number of years. The Citizen Review Board is one that will review complaints. So it won't oversee all everyday interactions of the police department. But those complaints that are brought before the police department, brought before us, the Citizen Review Board will have an opportunity to participate in. And what it allows the citizens to do is to understand how policing works, to understand how public safety works. I think that creates better trust and transparency between the community and the public. I've said that from day one. I continue to maintain that. But I think it's important to understand final discretion on any decision will be left to the mayor and the police chief. So it's something that I believe is needed, and I think it's something that will be value added to our community as we continue to try to make this a safer and better place.
Mr. McNeil.
I believe it's important to put the review board in place so that the relationship between government administration and citizens is restored. And it shows that we are servants of you. We do sit at your hands and your mercy. We are to answer to you, our boss, so that we can have checks and balances of ourselves. We shouldn't worry about the abuse of the board if we know we're doing our job. That's not a problem. Because if I feel that the board is abusing my officers, you better believe I'm going to stand 10 toes down and fight against the board with every power I have to protect and defend my officers to the fullest extent of the law. So, of course, give the citizens, our bosses, what they want.
A civilian review board, Mr. Gilberth.
I think our police force is trained to operate with integrity and with professionalism. And as long as our force is operating as such, I don't think they need anyone looking over their shoulder. We are already short-staffed, and I believe that a citizen review board, at least at this point in time, would only add to the decreased morale we see in our officers and on the force every single day. We see officers leaving for Prattville or Wetumpka or the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. And right now, we need to focus on making sure our first responders know that City Hall has their back. And as long as they don't disrespect the badge, we shouldn't disrespect them. And so I'm not opposed to hearing both sides of the argument for a citizen review board at some point in time, But right now, our morale is such that we need to do everything we can to make sure our officers know we have their back.
All right, we'll have our next question, and we'll start with Mayor Reed on this next question. In recent years, there have been complaints that the City Council and the Mayor do not always see eye to eye. These disagreements can impede progress. So, as Mayor, how would you go about ensuring a more productive Mayor-Council relationship?
Let me address something that was said. I don't know where Mr. Gilbert is getting his information, but our police department morale is not low. Just as much as you see people leaving Prattville and going to other departments, they're coming back to the Montgomery Police Department. Now, I know that because I run the police department and I run the city. So I know these are good talking points, but that's just not truth. It's not based in faction. Based in truth, and it's not a fact. So that said, let me get to the Mayor-Council. The Mayor-Council is always going to be a give and take. That's the art of compromise. That's the art of politics. That's what you have to do between the executive branch and the legislative branch. I think that we've done some great things with this council. I think we can do more. I think we can be more responsive to the community and where the community is now and where the community wants to go. And so from my standpoint, we meet with them, the leadership, once a month. We meet with other council members once a month in between city council meetings. So I think the communication is there. We just have to be more aligned, and we'll continue to do that. No different than the governor and the legislature or the president and the Congress. We'll continue to work it out.
Mr. McNeil, council-mayor relationship.
I think that the council and the mayor has a unique relationship in the fact that a lot of stuff ends with the council that the mayor tries to pass on behalf of the citizens. If I am at a deadlock with city council and I can't get anything passed, I'm going to call on you, the citizens, to come help me. And if you don't get there, I'm going to get in my car and come drive to your houses and knock on every last one of your doors, have a dinner plate ready for me when I get there, because I'm coming, until you get down to City Hall and stand behind me like an army and we get what we want passed. Thank you.
All right, the mayor-council relationship, ensuring that it is a productive one. Mr. Gilbreth.
Sure. I think the biggest thing that we have to understand as both mayor and city council is that we are all elected by the city of Montgomery. They've elected every one of those council members. They would have elected the mayor. And the city of Montgomery puts their vote, meaning they put their trust in the group of people they elected to work together to solve problems. No different than when I get elected mayor, I'm going to put my trust in all of us to work together to solve problems. I believe the people of Montgomery expect their city council and expect their mayor to have an open door policy and be willing to communicate with HOAs, neighborhoods all over this city. And I believe there is a high expectation of a teamwork between city council and the mayor's office.
And finally, Mr. Felder.
Whenever you have professionals that have disagreements, I think it's best to leave any bickering or arguments behind closed doors. You always have to maintain a level of professionalism. I think as mayor, what I would do is establish a relationship with each council member. See if they have any projects that they need working on, anything that I can help with, any resources that I can provide as mayor. And I think once you build a relationship just outside of council meetings and getting to know each council member, I think it'll make it easier to pass things or ordinances that you do place in front of them to get passed. So with me, it's all about establishing a relationship with each person outside of just being a council member. And I think a lot of things can grow within the city once everybody has a strong relationship.
Thank you. Pride in one city goes a long way to prevent crime, provide opportunity. The problem is in Montgomery, there are areas that do not inspire pride. Many of the thoroughfares in our area, other parts of the city, public places, are in need of beautification, sidewalks, landscaping, streetlights, you name it. What types of beautification projects would you implement as mayor, and how would you pay for them? Mr. McNeil, we'll start with you.
I think before I march in the community and decide what beautification projects I want there, I need to consult that community first. I would partner with the neighborhood associations, and if there are not neighborhood associations in your community, I would encourage you to get one. Or again, here I come knocking on your doors asking you why you don't have one. And don't come at me at come election time when you don't like what's happening in your neighborhood if you don't get one. So I would work with the neighborhoods to see what they want. And once we decide as a unified body of people what they want, I would advocate and lobby and do everything in my power to make sure those residents of that local community have what they want, to feel pride in their community, that their home values increase, and they are happy to be a citizen of Montgomery, Alabama.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbreth, in pride in our communities, making Montgomery look like a better place so that we feel better about living here.
It's been something I've said since day one, is that I want Montgomery to be a place that every single person who lives here is proud to call it home. I think it always goes back to personal responsibility, too. If you elect me, you're electing we. That means we've got to have enough self-respect that we don't ride down the road and throw out litter out of the side of our car. We've got to be able to cut our grass. And I get it. We've had lots of rain, and I've heard people say, look, it was raining while the grass was growing while I was cutting it. I get it. But when I drive down city streets, we've got blighted buildings that we need to do a better job taking care of. We need to do this is a pet peeve of mine, absentee ownership of properties in Montgomery. We've got to have some ordinances here that put some teeth in absentee owners so that these buildings get cleaned up and the city streets and streetscapes get cleaned up. I'm all for more lights because I think that makes people feel safer. But absentee ownership of public property, of private property, is a horrible situation that we find ourselves in that needs to get cleaned up.
Making Montgomery a more attractive city, Mr. Felder.
When you talk about making it an attractive city, you have to make sure you are including all zip codes. Because if you drive around to certain communities, you will see there has not been any upkeep or beautification applied in north, south, west, and some parts of East Montgomery. So I feel as though we need to have those in those districts held accountable for having their districts look better. If you look at the IGA area, or if you go to the Norman Bridge area, or if you go over to the Coliseum Boulevard, if you go over to West Fairview, there are a lot of areas that can be brought up and look better to beautify. We have nonprofits, West Montgomery Impact, that are going around to beautify the community. So if you can't get the money out of the budget, again, you go to your nonprofits and communities and organizations that want to see the community do better, but also get the community involved. You can't just ask for outside help and you live in the community and you don't want to give a hand also.
And Mr. Reed.
Well, you mentioned pride in the community and how you would pay for it. No one has said how they would pay for it. So what we would do is, one, budget it, which we have done with the Clean City Commission, working with the City Council. But more importantly, we've gone to the state to lobby the Department of Transportation to assist in picking up their responsibility to maintain state roads. That's not a city responsibility. It's not a county responsibility. The state has abdicated that to the local governments without providing any funding. So in spite of that, what we did is we went to Congresswoman Terry Sewell and we asked for $4 million for blight reduction. She very simply awarded that to us, asked us what we needed. That was helpful. We'll see that this year. We've already increased neighborhood inspections in the budget for the last 2 years to reduce blight. And I think finally, we continue to go after grants to beautify this community and to make sure that we're reinvesting in it with our own funds as well.
All right, this last question, we'll start with you, Barrett Gilbreth. Whether it's true or not, we hear the complaint, there's nothing to do in Montgomery. What do you enjoy doing in Montgomery, and what else would you bring to the city to improve our quality of life?
I think the thing I enjoy doing most in the city of Montgomery is working with our young people in our athletic programs at the Parks and Rec. I have coached Little League Baseball, YMCA football, Hoops League basketball. So one of the things that I'd like to bring is a sports tourism complex that would be extremely advantageous for our local youth, but it would also create a way for Montgomery to capitalize on the humongous sports tourism industry. We're seeing cities all over the state of Alabama and including in the river region building these complexes that are taking tourism dollars out of our hotels and putting them in those other communities. Montgomery needs to be able to capitalize on some of these revenue opportunities, and then we can even reinvest in other entertainment opportunities outside of local and youth sports.
Mr. Felder, what do you enjoy doing in Montgomery, and what else would you like to see here?
Well, if you let my wife tell it, all I like to do is go to the gym and stay in the house. But I would like to see more entertainment here. A lot of people in Montgomery feel as though they have to go outside of the city to see headline entertainers. So we don't see the Beyoncés and your other headline artists or Jay-Z or something or Taylor Swift. We don't see those people come to Montgomery. So we hear about Dothan having them. So it's something that can have more people come here. There's more money that's being spent in the area for having such acts as those come to Montgomery. And again, it's like we have this old town feeling. So we can still open up for better entertainment, but still keep the conservative views or conservative look that we want here. But we can't stay or maintain the mindset that we're in and not have our future generations keep leaving and going elsewhere to have fun.
What do you enjoy, Mayor Reed, and what would you like to see here?
You know, I think for me, I like sports. I like the arts. I mean, I like a number of things. The universities provide a lot here to our cities. Fabric, I don't know that we really appreciate that, but you go to a city that does not have colleges and universities, you notice a big difference. But for us, we have invested in quality of place, the $90 million Montgomery Whitewater facility, which we partnered with the Montgomery County Commission, is proof positive of that. Our $2.8 million we're putting into Lagoon Park to upgrade it is proof positive of that. I think the $5 million that we have allocated for trails throughout this city from American Rescue Plan Act dollars are proof positive of that. I also think that our commitment to community centers, ball fields, and courts are also proof positive of us investing in this community and investing in quality of place. And finally, in a couple of months, we'll be revealing a feasibility study to expand our convention center and bring a downtown arena that we can capture some of these events and get more tourism dollars into our city.
Okay. And Mr. McNeil.
I am a person that enjoys peace. And one thing I know, for a little while, I drove trucks over the road across the United States, all the way from California all the way back up to New York, back down to the South. I've been in cities that have just bored me to death. I've been in a lot of downtowns. And I'll tell you right now, I've never seen a downtown as beautiful as Montgomery, Alabama's downtown. The buildings, the architecture, the structures, the way the city streets are set up, it's an oasis in itself. I would love to be able to go downtown and get lost in that oasis all day long by implementing and increasing retail and just family-oriented things to do downtown, throughout downtown and on that riverfront, because guess what? Marcus like peace. Thank you.
Marcus McNeil, thank you. Barrett Gilbert, thank you. Victorous Felder, thank you. Stephen Reed, thank you. These are your candidates for Montgomery Mayor. Yeah. So for our online audience, we'll be transitioning now. We'll take a quick break as we bring our first group of City Council candidates to the stage. For those of you who are in the auditorium joining us, if you'd like to come or go, now would be the time as well. We'll just take a minute or two break. Our online audience, we have transitioned now from the mayoral portion of our forum to the city council portion of our forum. We have 7 of the 9 districts represented tonight because there are 2 districts that are uncontested. In Districts 1 and District 6, Ed Grimes and Aronde Mitchell, respectively, have already been declared elected because they have no opposition in their races. We'll start tonight with District 2, and you see the candidates on the stage: Julie Beard, Marquetta Johnson, and Richard Williams. A 4th candidate, Eric Satcher, did not join us tonight. Now would be a time to welcome them to our forum. Ms. Beard, we'll start with you, and as we did with the mayoral candidates, we want to give you the opportunity to discuss the single issue which you feel is the most pressing for Montgomery and how you would go about addressing it on the council. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I believe the most pressing thing that we have in our Montgomery is crime. I think it's an elephant in the room that we have to address and talk about. And if we don't address it and find a solution, then what can we do? People are not going to come to our city. People are not going to be safe going to the parks and to the shopping centers. We can bring every single business into Montgomery that we can. But unless you feel safe going where you're going at night or even during the daytime, then we're going to be stuck at home. So I feel like the best thing that we need to do is address the elephant in the room, make sure we have enough police officers on every corner in every situation that we have that can come to us, make sure that our 911 people that answer the telephone are responding, and they can get help on the way very, very soon.
Marquetta Johnson, your feeling about the most pressing issue that faces Montgomery.
Well, it differs from neighborhood to neighborhood. Everyone will say that it's crime, but, you know, it's definitely going to differ. We hear crime in certain neighborhoods. We hear speeding in certain neighborhoods where we have our children. So to me, it really has to be addressed, you know, neighborhood by neighborhood, and that's what it's going to take for us as city councilors to work together to address that as a whole.
And is there one issue in your district that would be the most pressing?
Speeding. It's definitely going to be speeding, especially at nighttime. They feel like it's a roadway or, you know, a speedway. They're very concerned about children being out playing in the daytime or in the afternoon. So if they can really address the speeding with whether speed bumps or speed signals, you know, that would definitely help our community out a lot.
The most pressing issue, Richard Williams.
Yes, for me, it would be community development. I think when we look at all of the different issues that we see happening within the city of Montgomery, but particularly in District 2, it starts by the foundational thing, and that's community development. In spaces that you don't have development, you see hosts of crime. In spaces that you don't have development, you see individuals not able to speed and all of those different things. Those necessary things are needed to cause people to not care for the space. When areas are developed and areas are able to work, life and play are able to happen, the quality of life, then individuals are able to cherish those places, they're able to exist in those spaces, and when that happens, I believe that that creates not just a better District 2, but I think it creates a better place for all of us.
It is important that voters have access to their elected officials, but in Montgomery, there have been times when inquiries from citizens have gone unanswered by their city council members. How will you strive to be more accountable to your constituents in District 2? And we'll start first with Marquetta Johnson.
Open door policy. Reach out to me 48, 72 hours. Give me that amount of time to give you a response so that I can properly address, do the research, and if I need more time, I'll definitely let you know so that we can have, or I can have the adequate time to fix those issues or find someone who can assist me with addressing those particular issues.
Mr. Williams, accountability to your constituents.
You know, when I think about it, I think we have to educate the public that city council is a part-time position, and you're giving only one person a cell phone. And so part of my platform is that I think that we should use our discretionary funds to create constituency services. When you look in the mayor's office, you see that Mayor Reed has created a constituent service office, and I believe that is also needed for the city council as well. It is impossible to think that one person could answer the calls of 20,000 residents that are in District 2. It's it's impossible. It's not even done through 911. 911 has multiple persons who take the calls. I think we need that same approach to be able to address those issues. I believe we need an Office of Constituent Services to undergird the work of all the city council persons who serve.
Thank you. And finally, Mrs. Beard, what do you think about accountability?
Accountability, I've been walking door to door since April. And the most important thing that I've learned from everybody that I've spoken with is they want somebody that cares. They want somebody that listens to them. They want somebody that they can call on the phone. I'm a part-time activities director and administrator at Success Unlimited Academy. And my headmaster knows when I win this election, I will be a full-time city councilman. And as a daughter of a former city councilman, it is a full-time job if you want to do it the right way. And so my phone will be available, emails will be available, and texting. And I think you all know that that's right on my side 24/7, and I will be glad to get back with you within a 24 to 48-hour period. I'm a person that does not take no very well for an answer, so I will exhaust all my efforts with all the departments to make sure we find a solution to the issue in your area.
Mr. Williams, you'll be the first to answer this next question. What are your thoughts about Montgomery's public transportation system? How would you go about making the transit system more popular, more people using it, and how would you go about making it more responsive to the people who need it?
You know, when I think about our work that we do, currently I serve as the lead pastor of Metropolitan, but also the director and founder of the Beacon Center, which is an 8,500 square foot of help that serves the city of Montgomery. And one of the areas that we find in our workforce development work is that individuals do need access to transportation, and they need to be able to get to their jobs when the job actually needs them there and not when the bus is running there. And so I think that we have made some necessary steps. I know there's a new app and things that are necessary. I do think that is something that needs much effort and growth. I think that those who are leading in this space actually need to ride the bus. And I think part of that campaign could be that we, instead of going to the city council meeting by driving our cars and parking in our parking spaces, maybe one day we should actually take the actual transportation that we have the responsibility to govern.
Julie Beard, thoughts on Montgomery's public transit system?
Absolutely. I think that the Montgomery public transportation system is very important. But then you go out and you look at the different areas. I rode by yesterday at Capitol Heights Junior High School. There's a beautiful bus mats place where the people can get on the bus. But you go to North Pass, and that is shot up. It's fallen in. And everybody needs a place where they can go and rest and wait for the bus. So those things need to be important. To me, that's important. And also, those areas, too, even help the school children when they board the bus in the mornings and that type of thing. But there are people in Montgomery that depend on that 24/7 for their full means of transportation. And I think it's very important that we put the word out, make sure that they know the schedule, and offer enough routes to get people to and from work and to and from pleasure places in Montgomery.
And lastly, Marquetta Johnson.
I have to agree with my opponents. One, I think we also should go back and figure out why the bus system changed as well. But definitely for the underserved areas, we definitely need more buses, more routes, and more accessibility to the bus routes. So as my opponent stated, just, educating them on the bus system routes and how it can be done.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with Ms. Beard on this next question. Crime and homelessness are two pressing issues that face Montgomery, and a number of factors, as we know, contribute to these problems, whether it's poverty, an education issue, a lack of affordable housing. How would you work to address crime and or homelessness in Montgomery?
Well, let's address homelessness first. When I started on this journey back in January of 2022, there were 4 or 5 different things, and I thought, you know what, I'm not that educated, and I need to, on those particular things, and I need to get out there and work with those areas. First person I sought out was Patrick Aiken with Midtown Alabama Coalition for the Homeless. And I worked with him, and I volunteered with him. So I can't do anything unless I walk in those shoes and get a feel for that area. As far as the crime, the same thing. The Office of Violence Prevention. I walked many, many times with Ro Tyus and Keith Moore on their crime prevention walks. I've been in areas before that I would have never gone in and seen things that needed to happen and talked to people that I would never come in contact with. So I could see that through their eyes. And in order to be a good city councilman or a city councilman that cares, you have to walk in the shoes of others in order to make informed decisions. Thank you.
And next, crime and or homelessness. How would you address those issues in Montgomery?
First, we have to understand that there are different levels to homelessness. It doesn't just necessarily mean that someone is living on the streets. We also have to understand that the people who do live on the streets, they have rights, and we cannot make everyone just go, hey, let's do this. You know, they have to be willing to get that help and get that assistance. We just have to continue to work with them and provide those resources as well. So I've encountered one person in District 2. She has a home. It's just she didn't have any family who was there to help take care of her, so she no longer wanted to be in her home. So we have to really be understanding and try to see things from others' perspectives. With the American Legion, we have the Peers program where we help our homeless veterans, and we house up to 25 until we take them basically from homelessness to homeowners. So, and it's just, you know, expanding programs like the Peers program to be able to help them. When it comes to crime, it's going to start with all of us. We're going to have to be able to come together, work together to address those issues. Why is this particular crime happening? Why is that particular crime happening?
And finally, Mr. Williams.
You know, when I think about crime, I think it's become a very popular topic across this race. But for me, it's not just a popular topic. When you've been there for someone and they've lost their loved one and you've been at the casket and you've walked with that family, you've seen the crime tape, then you know it's not just a buzzword for a campaign. I think what has happened is we've lost the fabric of family and we're dealing with the results of those necessary things. I think that's why we need more work around our community centers and ensuring that our young people are a part of the process and not just trying to get them when they're 19 and 20 and 21. We see that in the program that we lead across the Montgomery County Courthouse with our bond reduction alternate sentencing program called Next Steps that I founded. And then when we think about the area of homelessness, there many people don't know that we're still short of beds. As a MOC member with Montgomery Area Council on Homelessness, my organization is one of the members of MOC. I see those who are homeless and unhoused day after day, and what we know is that we need more beds, and that needs to happen immediately. We currently have a deficit of over 100 plus beds, and there's no way that we can continue to do that unless we have those beds.
For this next question, we'll start with you, Marquetta Johnson. Montgomery is considered the birthplace of the civil rights movement, yet we still face racial divisions in our city today. We can look back at the brawl on the riverfront as perhaps one example. We can also look at black events and white events, at least the way they're perceived in Montgomery. What would you do to ensure that the city events, for example, in the city moving forward, appeal to the entire population?
So when it comes to appealing to the entire population, it's basically trying to understand what every citizen wants to have here in Montgomery. However, if we do not come together and try to see things from other perspectives, we will never get along. As long as we have people continually trying to divide us, we will stay divided. So we have to be able to come together, live together, work together. Everyone is allowed whatever they want to do. We're allowed to live where we want to live. We're allowed to purchase home where we want to purchase homes. We're allowed to go where we want to go have that fun. It's all about respecting each other. Without that respect, we will stay divided, and the racial tensions will continue.
Mr. Williams, racial divisions in Montgomery.
For me, I don't believe that there's a such thing as a black event nor a white event. When I came to Montgomery 7 years ago, my responsibility was to serve as the first African American at an all-white congregation. And one thing that I learned is that there were persons who were white that loved hip-hop music, and also there were persons who were black who loved country music. And I think what the city needs to continue to do is they need to create events for all the citizens of Montgomery. And if there's a certain population that shows up, then we need to make sure that every population is represented by those necessary activities. I don't know if you've been to a rodeo since, but it was a great time. It was an experience until I came to Montgomery, Alabama. And so I think as we continue to do those things, we create perspectives and opportunities for all to be able to thrive, work, and play. And the same way as even the whitewater part. Some would say African Americans wouldn't do whitewater. I tried it 2 weeks ago. It was an amazing time. I was glad I had a life jacket on.
Julie Beard, your answer.
Well, I'm going to agree with Richard down here, too, because I don't see it as a white and black event. You know, my experience with everything started in the 6th grade. And children that I met in the 6th grade from the Madison Park neighborhood are still my friends today. I've been an educator for 38 years. I don't see color. But I also want to share with you that, hey, if you're having a Motown event downtown, I'm your girl. I can throw down with the best of them. But if we're going country, I can go there too. So I think you would say that you just go where you're comfortable, and you make sure that you have the best time ever wherever you go.
And our last question, we will start, I believe, with Mr. Williams. Is that where we are? Did you start with the last question? Okay. The last question, what are the best features of District 2? And what enhancements would you make while you were in office? Basically, how would you want to go about improving the quality of life in your district?
One of the beautiful things about District 2 is that there are so many different things that you are able to do. One thing I love is that there's Lagoon Park, and if you want to strike a golf game, you can be able to do that. You can find a trail, as well as if you want a good bite of pizza, you can be able to make that happen in District 2. And so for me, I think there's a host of different businesses that are in District 2. One thing that I would improve in that space is I do believe that they do need collaboration in the businesses that have been resilient over the years. You shouldn't have to take 5 to 3 years or so to go find all of these different businesses. So I do believe that there needs to be a directory in space so those who are moving to District 2 or any other district can know the businesses and opportunities that are available in the area.
Ms. Beard.
In the heart of District 2 is Lagoon Park, and there is money appropriated right now to give it an uplift and an upgrade. In our sister area, our sister district, we have the Montgomery Zoo. So you can get in your car in District 2, and you can drive for about 5 minutes, and you can hit some very nice spots. And you can go to Lagoon Park, you can see softball, baseball, go to golf, you can play golf at Lagoon Park Golf. There's a tennis facility, also the hiking facilities, and there are many other parks in the area. So there are plenty of eateries, which we're very proud of because they're mostly a mom and pop district. And so we get to go to that Soul. We get to go to Green Papaya. We get to go to unique places who have stood the test of time that are fabulous.
And finally, Ms. Johnson, in things you like about your district and enhancements that you would like to make.
The neighborhoods. So I am a fitness guru. I like to work out. So normally, whether it's morning or night, dropping the kids off after school, I go work out. I go run the different neighborhoods. I like looking at homes since I am in real estate. So it's very beautiful within District 2. Some things that I would like to see improved, we have 3 parks within District 2 that are not currently being used due to the conditions. So I would definitely like to see those parks revitalized so that the community to come together and we can use those parks. We can have different activities, different events where we can all come together and socialize instead of going elsewhere outside our districts.
Marquetta Johnson, Richard Williams, and Julie Beard, your candidates for District 2. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. And we'll take that 1-minute break again while we switch to the next district. Council district. So we're moving into the next section of our forum in which we're talking about District 3. And we'll have the same questions for our District 3 contestants. Joining us on stage is the incumbent in this race, Marcia Johnson, and her challenger, Patricia June. Please thank them for being here. You'll have 1 minute to answer each of these questions, and in this first question, we'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and then perhaps talk about what you feel is the single most important issue facing the city of Montgomery. And Ms. Johnson, we'll start with you.
Oh, great. Good evening, everyone. I've had the pleasure to serve you all for 2 years. I came in off a special election from 2021, and I've been serving since then. I've had the pleasure of working with every neighborhood, and I can just include the biggest issue that we had in each neighborhood. It was disinvestment. Disinvestment was the largest issue that we suffer from in District 3. And so through these last 2 years, I have worked tirelessly with improving from reactivating neighborhood associations to including security at the entrance of our neighborhoods, to putting down and paving roads, to bringing in more community policing, to spearheading planning, zoning, and different ordinances within the city. So not only have I worked for District 3, but I have worked for the city of Montgomery. We have expanded the entertainment district in downtown. We have built up nonprofits that are building tutoring centers across the district. We have built up and revitalized neighborhoods that were not even identified. But I look forward to continuing to speak on this throughout this forum with you.
And her challenger this year, Patricia June, introduce yourself for us and tell us about the most pressing issue facing your district.
My name is Patricia June. I'm a business owner here in Montgomery, Alabama, has been since 2003. I have a nonprofit organization, volunteer community organization. The most pressing problems, that's about it with me. It's so much, I'm just going to make it short. The most pressing problem to me, economic development and education. Those are the most important things because they go hand in hand, especially education. The education can tumble down and have things just the way they are in District 3 right now. Right now with the crime, right now with how it looks, education and economic development. Those are my key things to concentrate on.
All right. And Ms. June, we'll start with you for the next question, which is about accountability to constituents. There have been complaints that sometimes city council members are not always responsive to their constituents. Tell us a little bit about what your goal would be were you to be elected in that area.
I've already achieved it. I'm already in contact with a lot of my residents in District 3. It has been building for years, since 2019 when I ran. Since 2019, it actually started in 2016. And I've set up there and reached out to every district. We talk one-on-one. We have Zoom meetings. We do it all. So I have been out there in my community for many, many years. It didn't just start because I wanted to, go a little bit further with this election.
All right. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you so much. Accountability. District 3 has over 23,000 residents. The first thing I realized when I came onto the city council was the city council did not have staff. We did not have staff. The mayor's office had staff, but we did not. And as one person, it is impossible to answer the call of 23,000 plus residents or respond to any calls or emails. So my first step was, at the city council meeting, I asked, where in the budget, because I came in through budget season, right before budget hearings, where in the budget can we include money to have staff for city council? We needed a full-time executive assistant. We needed interns in order to help with the city clerk. Well, we did. We added $100,000 to the budget that year, last year. We've included it in the budget hearings for this year. But since then, because it is impossible for me, I bring on interns. I have an executive assistant that I paid through a fund. And we answer and we respond. And if we can't, we get it to the constituency office. So that is what we have been doing. So we've been training this entire time.
Thank you. And we'll start with you now for this next question. And it's about public transportation in Montgomery. What is your assessment of the Montgomery public transportation system? Does it need improvements, and how?
My assessment, when I first came on, probably about a year and a half prior, we did a ride across the city. And it took about 2 hours to get from one side of town to the other. And we found out that it was not a bus route to get from as far as South Lawn to Hyundai. And so what I did was I met with the transportation office, the department head, and asked what could we do. And he said, I need you to advocate to extend the bus stops. But not only did we need that, but the community members asked for covers on our bus stops, because we had some that were active and some that were inactive in District 3, and we still do. But right now, with that advocacy, I've been working and spearheading a movement with our department head, our planning officer, to improve and update our planning ordinance and the zoning for what we have with the bus stops. So that is currently and actively working. They are done right now with the draft and have sent the city council the proposal, and all we're waiting on now is that final draft so we can approve it and pass it as an ordinance in the city.
Ms. June, public transportation in Montgomery, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is pitiful. It's really pitiful. I've rode the bus plenty times with no transportation, and had to ride the bus, and it's pitiful. And when I mean that, because right now I see new equipment, so it has improved. But during the years, I get out, and I see people in the most vulnerable places in heat, and I go and find those spots where they are in my district or beyond. It doesn't matter to me. That wherever that car take me, that's where I'm going. And I would have to bring them water, ask them if they're okay. Some of them I even take home, because there's nothing to cover overhead them. I don't know if it's what anybody else has seen. I've seen just like a couple. And the rest of them are just like hot iron. Just imagine that. No. We can do better than that for our citizens. And I also wish that we had it to where we can extend it a little bit further out, because we have people that work late in the evening. You know, we have people at the factories. We bring in the factories here, but we're not offering the transportation part to get the employees there. So they're struggling to get back and forth to the job. So we can extend those hours and those days. That can help them. I think we'll be okay.
Thank you very much. 1 minute for each question, each answer, and the next topic will be crime and or homelessness. They are both issues that face Montgomery, and so this would be your opportunity to discuss ways that you would address those two issues in Montgomery, in Alabama's capital city. And we'll start with you again on this question, Ms. June.
Crime, you cannot stop crime, but you can do a lot of things to deter as a citizen, and also supporting the police department. To me, it's communication, is engaging. We had, the neighborhood watch. I've seen that decrease a whole lot. You have a lot of residents have asked me, and why? Why is it safe to call? I'm like, yes, it is. Call the line. Tell them what you see. They're afraid that they still going to be called out. They still, so they're not educated and aware of how secure it is to make those calls. So it's community engagement, me going out like I do now and speaking with my community residents, asking them what's wrong. I have set up and paid over 200 doorbell cameras for my residents, so they can feel a little bit secure. And I still get those calls. And I set them plates, and I get some more doorbells and keep it going. I keep it going.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you, Ms. June. And now back to Marsha Johnson on the issues of crime and homelessness in your district.
Very good, thank you. I'll cover homelessness first. Since I've been on the council, we have had the ARPA dollars come down. And what we've done with those ARPA dollars was allocate that money for what we call the MAP Center. The MAP Center will be wraparound services for our homeless population to ensure that they get what they need. And because of that, I reached out. I'm able to travel and go and learn different things and see different things that work in other cities. And it is a program called Palette. If you ever get the time, look it up. Well, what Palette does is it creates this proof of concept of a little city for our homeless population with tiny homes, and it gives them those same wraparound services. So outside of MAP Center, we'll also have Pilot here, and this is something that we've been looking at for the past year and seeing how that will work and how we can allocate those ARPA dollars for that program. And when it comes to crime, I have ensured that each neighborhood has flock cameras in the entrance and throughout in the hot spots. I've ensured that we had Ring doorbells for our senior population, and they were connected to our Star Watch Center.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And ARPA dollars are COVID-19 federal pandemic relief funds from the federal government. Our last question, or no, second to last question, is the issue of race. Even though we are the birthplace of civil rights, the movement in America, we still have racial divisions amongst our citizens. What, if anything, can a city council member do to address that issue? And we'll start with you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. We can support those that are doing the work. We have organizations like SPLC, ACLU, Alabama Forward, and so many more to name that are doing the work. We have CREST that has created a safe space where community conversations are going, and we can talk about race and really have that true dialogue because it's necessary. We have the amazing EJI sitting right in the heart of District 3 downtown that does just that, and we have tourism spiking through the roof because of that facility. And so each and every one of us can have that conversation. Now, what can I do other than support them? I can fund them. That's the support that I can give them. I can fund those seminars for those conversations. I can organize spaces for them to meet to have those conversations. But District 3 is so unique, and it's such a jewel because a lot of that work that has been done through the years has happened right in our district.
And Ms. June, your thoughts on racial divisions in your district?
Well, to be frank with you, I'm a NASCAR person. I was raised in a family that was diverse from the beginning. And that's my spirit. And I attract that. So that's why the people in the resident that talk with me, I'm easy to talk to. So we was talking about getting together and talking about race and the differences because they're there. It's obviously they're there. And communicating about why we feel the way we feel about other races, other genders, and having that conversation. So me and the residents in District 3 have been talking about just getting together and just having that, you know, just like this forum right here, and let's talk about it. So engagement with my community in District 3, I agree, is a very diverse community. And the events, the same thing. I go to events like I just heard somebody saying something about the rodeo. That's me. and I bring somebody else along with me.
That's 1 minute. Thank you, Ms. June. And our last question, what are the best features of your district? And what would you like to see improved about your district or enhanced? And we'll start with you.
The best features about my district is historic, the buildings. I see so much history. I've been talking with residents, and I talk a lot, can you tell? I mean, I'm out there every day. I do the same thing every day. It's 7 days a week to me, even on call, you know, no matter what. When I was talking to them, I was talking about a building on Madison, I believe. And they came to me, you know, I said, you know, this is a beautiful building. It's so unique. It's a wraparound porch. And that's when most of the people in District 3 just chimed in. Because believe it or not, we got more than educated, knowledgeable people there. But they know the history. I didn't even know that part of Capitol Heights was like downtown, someone was telling me. So the historical homes that we have and historical features of those homes and the preservations of the rest of it, all those things I've just been sharing with them because a lot of it I didn't even know. I just thought they were just beautiful homes. Mm-hmm. I had to get educated myself on, yeah, that building, you know, this is the history of that building, this is the history of that building.
What are the best features of your district, and what would you like to make better about your district, Ms. Johnson?
The best features of District 3 are the people. The people of District 3 are everything. And not only are the people, but the area. We carry all of the history in District 3. What have I been doing to improve that? We have invested time and dollars in the Choice Neighborhood Initiative to build out Centennial Hill, to really, really invest in the history of our district. I have a historian that I may see out here somewhere that has taught continuously the community on the history that we may not know. But the lovely part is I do know most of it because I am born and raised in District 3. So we are investing in historical markers. We are investing in historical buildings. We are pushing initiatives to build out historical neighborhoods. I probably believe that so many people out there don't even know that the first rail car in the United States ran through District 3. And it lands right in Charlestown community. And it has not one marker, but I am investing in that.
Thank you very much, and thanks to both of you for joining us on our forum tonight. Thank you. And we'll be back in just a moment. If you're just joining us on one of our online platforms here at WSFA 12 News, we want to thank you for joining us. We have been talking with mayoral and city council candidates who are running for office in the upcoming August 22nd municipal election. We are now moving on to Council District 4, and we have 4 of 5 candidates joining us tonight in our forum. They are Kalia Bell, Audrey Graham, Fernetta Riley, and Terrence Dawson, or Terrence Watchdog Dawson, as he's listed on the ballot.
I really appreciate the correction.
And a couple of these people are people who we are, of course, familiar with in local politics, and so we appreciate them joining us tonight. We'll start, as we did in the previous forums, with your chance to introduce yourself and an opportunity to talk about the most pressing issue facing your district or the city of Montgomery in general. And we'll start first with Kalia Bell, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Kalia Bell. I'm the proud daughter of Thomas and Ella Bell, the late Thomas and Ella Bell. And I am so excited to be here just to be able to put my name in the arena to represent District 4. District 4 is where I love. District 4 is the destination I want it to be. It is the destination where I want all of us to want to be. I believe our most pressing issue is education, because education undergirds everything. When we start talking about crime, it's because education. We've got to tighten up on education. When we start talking about entrepreneurship, we've got to talk about education. When we want to talk about bringing in economic development, we're talking about education. We've got to make sure our children are ready. Not only our children, but we have to be ready. Times are changing. Things are fast-paced. We have to stay ready. And the only way we can be ready is to not get behind, to always be ready. And to be ready is to be educated. Thank you.
Ms. Graham, your introduction and concerns about the most pressing issue.
Well, I'm Audrey Graham, City Council. I've been City Council since 2018. I find it a privilege to serve the people of District 4 in the City of Montgomery. When we talk about pressing issues, I feel the biggest issue that's pressing us is that we have been overlooked far too long. And the reason I say that is because if we hadn't been overlooked when funding came in the past, we would have had sewer for the people in the Hunter Station and Old Selma Road community. We wouldn't be just today trying to come up with $5 million to address the issue that's much larger than that. We would have addressed it by now. When I said overlooked, we wouldn't continue to still be a food desert. We would have a grocery store in West Montgomery, because there's no reason why we're not a good place to be. We have rooftops. I hear that conversation, but that is not it. It's more at stake than that. So I feel like our pressing issue is that West Montgomery has been overlooked far too long, and the resources we need, demand, and must have been missing, but they need to start appearing as of now.
Thank you. And I should have mentioned that Audrey Graham is the incumbent in the race, and I apologize for having omitted that. Frenetta Riley, your chance to introduce yourself and talk about a pressing issue.
Good evening. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Frenetta Delane Riley, and I am a native of District 4. And what I mean by native, born, bred, grew there, still there. 47 years in the same resident. My issue with my neighborhood and our community is family. Family. We have lost each other as being united, being educated, and teaching our families. We used to love each other. It's time to get back to love, pulling our families together, and letting our families know it's okay. It's okay to cry, it's okay to depend on each other, and it's okay to pray. So now, let's get back to education, because education is one of the problems. We've got to teach our young children the knowledge. It's too much knowledge in District 4. That's a historical area, and it needs to stay one of the richest area of our city of Montgomery. And it's time to get it back, so let's get it back.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. And finally, Terrence Dawson, a former city council member, now running for this seat in District 4. Mr. Dawson?
First of all, let me say good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My mom went to Carver High School. My daddy went to Booker T. I was born in St. Jude Hospital. Dr. Pettis was my doctor. I don't think you can get no more native Montgomery than that. And I grew up on Underwood Street. Now, let me just say this. As it relates to funding in the community, you have to be smart enough to seek out how to bring growth and development to the community. When I was challenged to find monies for the community, my job as a profession was a computer analyst with the state of Alabama. Each time I was asked to look in the budget, find money, I did. I brought more millions into District 5 when I was council person of new money. Guess what, y'all? With a majority white city council. So as it relates to race relations in Montgomery, we just got to be like Rodney King. Can't we all just get along?
Thank you.
Those incidents, like what happened at the riverboat, is the reason why you need education. That's the reason why you need people to work together in order to move Montgomery forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. 60 seconds for, you're welcome to continue with this sentiment after the next question. We just are allowing 60 seconds for each answer. It is important to voters to have access to their elected officials. In Montgomery, there have been times, especially in recent years, when we at WSFA 12 News hear from citizens who say that their calls to their elected officials go unanswered. So how would you strive to be accountable to your constituents? And we'll start with the incumbent in the race, Ms. Graham.
Yes, sir. So my cell number is on the website. It has been on the website since 2018. The phone I have right now, I don't have an additional phone. There's not an additional number for me. If I miss your call, I call people back. If you don't leave a message, then I may not call you back because I don't know who I'm calling back. But I have been very responsive at the city council meetings. I go to my neighborhood meetings. So I've been out in the community, and I will continue to do that. I'm not hidden. I'm not tucked off anywhere. I'm easy to find and easy to access. So I will continue on the same path that I'm on to make sure I'm available. I answer emails as well as my phone calls.
Okay. And your thoughts on accountability to your constituents, Ms. Riley?
Great word, accountability. That's exactly what I'm running my campaign on, being accountable. Everyone has my number. I've been knocking doors, boots on the ground, and giving my number personally. And everyone that has called me has been able to get in contact with me. Just to talk about one little incident, there's a young lady at South Lawn right now who called me on my way in, and I explained to her, give me about 10 minutes, I'm going to call you back. No problem. 24 hours. I'm used to being on call, working with the Department of Corrections. I'm on call 24/7. So that explains. This phone here rings, I will pick it up. You will have access. I can come to you. I have no problem with visiting, knocking doors, sitting down, and talking about anything. And you can come see me any time of the day. That's my accessibility to everyone in District 4.
Thank you. Mr. Dawson, 1 minute.
Everybody know I love to talk, so please call me. I will talk to you all day and night. My telephone number has been the same since 1998. Consistency. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. So whatever platform you want to find me on, I'm an IT analyst. I'm a professional. I like technology. You can find me. You can stand on the side of the road to get me if you want to. But the bottom line is you got to be accessible. See, people will sit right here and say they're accessible. Then when the election is over, they go get another phone, put that one in the drawer. They don't answer that one. They get another. I heard one guy say, I don't know why they keep calling me on this phone. I don't even answer it. I answer the other phone. So you can play games with the people as it relates to accessibility. You got to be accessible. One thing about my IT knowledge, whenever people would reach out to me, I would send Brenda Braylock emails at night. You ever seen the commercial with the lawyer? He said, at the end of the night, I do all my letters and then I have dinner. Well, that's what I do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And we'll start with Ms. Riley for this next question.
No, you won't.
No?
No, you're going to ask me the question.
Oh, we haven't gotten to you. Oh, my goodness.
I'm on it.
She pays attention. Yes, accountability to your constituents.
I'm definitely believing in accountability. I work for appraisal currently. We have to answer our phones, we have to return calls, and we have to be right about the information that we give out. The one thing that I kind of say it, and it's a little bit cringy, I don't want you to have to call me. I want you to call me if you've done everything else that you're supposed to do, but more than anything, I want to make sure that our departments are properly funded, staffed, and everyone is happy to come to work as much as possible. I want it to be like a perpetual Chick-fil-A around this thing. I want to make sure that our constituents, that the people in Montgomery can reach out and talk to whomever they need to talk to when it comes to whatever it is your need is. You call your city council people to let them know what's going on so that we can fix what we're supposed to fix. I'm not supposed to cut your grass. I'm supposed to make sure that the people who are supposed to cut your grass have everything they need to cut your grass. I want to make sure that everybody runs as efficiently as a Chick-fil-A.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. And the next person to start our next line of questions will be Ms. Riley, and we'll talk a little bit about the public transit system in Montgomery, which some people feel can be improved, despite the fact that we have seen some improvements made to that system. What are your thoughts on the Montgomery public transit system?
Well, my thoughts on the transit system is we do need some more improvement in it. We have people that work all the time. Montgomery is a 24-hour working city. So we need to have people accessible to be able to get places that they need. Some people need transportation to go to work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Some people need transportation to get to the grocery store. Some people would love to go visit another neighborhood and need to be able to be transported that way. So I believe we do need to improve that. I might get sick one night and need the hospital, and I might need to get a ride. So I need transportation to be accessible for me to make it, to save my life and somebody else's life.
Mr. Dawson, how do we improve public transportation, make it more responsive, more popular in the city of Montgomery?
You are actually talking to the guy who was part of the intermobile facility being developed in the city of Montgomery. And the reason why the intermobile facility is where it is so that the buses would come downtown, giving access to all the shops. We begged Greyhound back then to move up the boulevard and to come downtown back then, offering all kind of incentives. I was a big person about nightlife in Montgomery. I think that people that work at night, that if they worked at Waffle House, IHOP, any other job that stopped, there should be something open other than a Waffle House, IHOP at night. Where people will have access to be able to do some of the things that they want to do. Now, I also think you need free bus ride days. I think that it has to be cost effective. It has to be cost efficient. I was part of several initiatives where the employees thought that they were being treated unfair. The wages, it's always been an issue. So I just think that we have to make sure that we do those studies and make sure that we keep up with the growing trends.
Thank you.
As you say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And Ms. Bell, let's talk about public transportation.
Yes, let's talk about it. I lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for 7 or 8 years. The one thing about their system is it's there and it's good and it works because people need it. We have to make sure that we have the constituency to bear the need. Because there's no sense in having a whole lot of routes if we're not utilizing it. But guess what? If we have education, if we have people actually going to jobs, if we have people actually doing things where they don't want to drive, that's how you get those people in that groove. That's how you increase that need. That's how you ensure that you're going to have money for that particular system. There's no sense in us having a really good system if we don't have educated people going to a job, going somewhere, having fun, taking their kids to the Whitewater Park, going to the zoo, going over to East Chase. We have to have a need for it, but we also have to have people who can afford it. And in order to do all of that, they have to be what? Educated. Okay.
Ms. Graham, your thoughts on public transit?
Absolutely, it needs some improvement in areas, and I agree with Ms. Bell that there has to be a need for it. When I spoke with the Matt's bus system when I first was elected, and we had a conversation about Hyundai, because I had someone lived in the district called about getting to work. What was said to me was that there wasn't a large enough need to take a route to Hyundai. So there absolutely has to be a need for those areas we don't have route. Now, when it comes to the bus benches, that's what I'm looking for, the bus benches, we do need some covering over them. They do need something to keep the people out of the elements, so we absolutely need to improve that. Ones that we have, we're not up to federal standard, and that is a federal program, so we have to make sure we meet those standards. So what we have done as the city of Montgomery is partnered with Matt's bus station, and we need to continue to do that and support them financially and support them with whatever they're pursuing to better serve the people in the city of Montgomery.
All right, thank you. We'll talk about crime and homelessness next, two problems that Montgomery is dealing with. There are various factors, obviously, that contribute to those. How would you address the factors that attribute to crime and homelessness in an effort to reduce those problems? And we'll start with Terrence Watchdog Dawson.
Well, first of all, I want to bring Yellow Mama back. And we bring Yellow Mama back in the Department of Correction. That may help deter some crime if they know they're going to get fried if they, commit those serious crimes. Crime is a serious thing. When you look at the gang banging, when you look at the thugs, when you look at the criminal activity, when you look at guns, when you have senior citizens who are afraid to sit on their porch, when you have females that are afraid to go out at night, your home should be your castle. Your home should not be a prison that once you lock in at night, you are afraid to go out. It's not about rap. It's not about rappers. It's about those thugs. You got to deal with criminals. You got to be able to deal with the Montgomery Police Department. You have to come out with workable solutions, but it has to start at home.
Thank you.
You can't expect the preacher, the teacher, and the police to discipline your badass kids.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And I don't mean to conflate the two issues of crime and homelessness. We only have a certain number of questions allotted for each section, and so we want to give the candidates a chance to address either both of those issues or one or the other. And so the question is, crime and homelessness are both problems. How would you address both, or if you would like to focus on just one or the other?
No. Crime. Right now we're going to talk about crime. Once again, I would honestly believe that when we start talking about people being educated and having things to lose, that is what deters you from going out doing things that will get you in a position where somebody can take your stuff. It is about being educated and having families who depend on you. Now let's just touch a little bit on homelessness. We need another somewhere for our people to go, because let me tell you something. Most people in America are one paycheck away from being homeless. And a lot of times we don't want to talk about it, but it's the truth. There are too many people who are on the verge. There are too many people who are stressed out and don't know what to do. We don't have enough facilities. We have got to look deeply into this situation, and we're going to have to utilize grants. We're going to have to utilize whatever the city allows, whatever they've set aside. I'm going to go with Tyler. He says.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bell. And now to you, Ms. Graham. We're talking about the two issues of crime and homelessness. Both are problems in Montgomery. And how would you weigh in on those problems?
When it comes to crime, we know as a city that we don't have the number of police officers that we need. So we know that. But I believe strongly that our community is a defense toward crime. When our community members start looking out for each other, we get back to that sense in place. I'm not going to let them break into your house, because after they break into yours, they're going to get mine next, because I done sat and watched them do it. So when we begin to put up a border of protection in our communities, that we're going to look out for one another, it means something. And it tells the criminal you're going to get caught. If you over there in West Montgomery doing something, they're going to put the police on you. Absolutely correct. That is what we want to happen. So that's our defense as a people, as a community, because the police, they won't always be there. They won't make it on time. So we've got to begin to defend ourselves, stand for ourselves. When it comes to homelessness, that is an issue that is deeper than one solution. There are many things that we're going to need to face, because there are many issues that address homelessness. It's not just people out because they don't have the money to have a house, and there are some that, but there are some with mental illness. So it's a bigger issue at place.
There are many factors. And finally, we want to ask the same question of Ms. Riley.
Yes. Let's start with, we've got to work with our local government. That's everybody, from the top to the bottom, dealing with crime. That's the only way we're going to be able, with every community, not just one district, that's all districts, surrounding districts as well. That's how we look at crime. Also, homeless, let me tell you a little bit about this, just a little bit. It's dealing with mental illness. It's dealing with people hurting. It's dealing with people don't have anywhere to go, no outlet. People don't have jobs. People are not out here just to be out here. They need help. Mental illness is very strong in our city, and we've got to look at it. It's not dealing with just alcohol. It's dealing with drugs. It's dealing with a variety of things, and we've got to get back with what we need to do. Community love, community effort, community help. The one thing I believe in, putting the effort in to help everybody, not just some.
And our next question, we'll start with Kalia Bell, and we'll talk a little bit about race relations in our city. Because as we all know, Montgomery likes to say, I think even on the city seal, the birthplace of the civil rights movement, and we're very proud of our history when it comes to that. It seems as though we still have a ways to go, though. What are your thoughts on racial divisions in Montgomery?
Racial divisions, I hate to say this, but it's kind of sort of true. Our schools, especially when we start talking about our neighborhood schools, when we put them, when we have schools in our neighborhood, guess what? Your children only see the people in their neighborhood. So if you're in a neighborhood where you only live with black people or you only live with white people, that somewhat may have something to do with us not coming together and us not having better dialogue and us being able to see past color. Some people are a little more, they have more of an advantage because they live in diverse neighborhoods. We have to have the hard discussions. They start at home. It's really and truly, it goes back to education, and I hate to keep saying it, but it goes back to the conversations you have at the dinner table. It goes back to the conversations that you have with your friends when you go to their houses, when you go other places. It still stems from education.
Ms. Graham, your thoughts?
I think race is still an issue in the nation, not just in Montgomery, if we had to be honest and open. I think it's time for us to have hard questions. I feel that what happened this past Saturday is a caveat for us to do that, for us to start creating venues that we get together and we talk about it, because it is an issue. There are some people still feel hurt. There are some people who still hold on to some of their ancestors were down there on that block right down there, downtown by the riverboat. They came off those boats. That still bothers some people. And then there are some who says, I want to love everybody. And so we've got to get at the same table and figure out, just because we don't agree don't mean we have to fight. I don't have to agree with everything you say, but I don't have to be fighting you. So, and then we have to get to that place as a city and as a nation that we begin to say we have differences, but we're going to work together. Why? Because we live, eat, and work in the same communities. I'm not moving out of my house just because it's somebody of a different race next to me. I'm staying right where I am, and the same for all of us.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
It's back to history. We have sit here, and we can sweep it under the table all day. But when it comes out, we've got to go back to talking about our history. It's a lot of history here, and we've got to bring communities together. I can sit with anyone and discuss the hard topic. We've got to do it. We are a family. When we cut each other, we still read. When we bury each other, we still leave property for people to have. So one thing we've got to understand, as a unity, we've got to sit down. We've got to put the questions out, and we've got to ask them. There's nothing wrong with us talking to our children about this. There's nothing wrong with adults talking, because history is right here. We are in one of the most historious places in the world. Our Selma to Montgomery March tells it all. Let's look back at our history, and let's get in depth.
Race relations, Mr. Dawson.
While on the city council, I voted to commission the change of the city seal, as well as voted to actually commission the drawing of the new city seal, and voted to change the city seal. Prior to August 5th, 2023, 1955, 1965 were two dates that was already in our mind. But now we're going to remember a white chair and a black hat flying in the air. as it relates to race in Montgomery, I don't need anyone to tell me about Montgomery racist past. I had a white auntie on the Montgomery police force during the 60s. I would go down to the police force. My Uncle Henry was married to a white police officer. When I was elected to the city council and I went to roll call, I said race will never be an issue that I want us to deal with. Everything goes fine until we bring race into it. Everything was fine out at the boat until the white man hit the black man. So once we bring race into it, we divide the city. And when you divide the city, it not only hurts Montgomery, but it hurts potential investors. It helps people who want to come to Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr.
It hurts
Dawson.
corporate America for wanting to locate here.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And we will start. Where did we start? Who had the first? Who had that? Okay, so we'll start with you, Ms. Graham. This is our last question. Yes, we did. We'll start with Ms. Graham for our last question, which is about the quality of life in Montgomery and in your district, things that you enjoy doing in your district, and things that you would like to see enhanced in your district.
So my favorite part, because I'm a homebody, if I could say that, so my favorite part is getting out amongst the people. I can go to certain communities and they're going to have a cookout and everybody going to feed you and it's going to be great fellowship, and I love it. Those are the things that I enjoy most about in District 4. Also, I mean, yes, you know, we have the water park now. We have Gateway. So we have some areas. We have the Kevin King's Canvas, which is a great venue. If you haven't been there, that is a great venue, plug. So I just think we have, I think we have some venues in District 4 that we absolutely enjoy. But at the end of the day, I don't enjoy them without my people. They're only good and enjoyable when I'm with the people and I'm out amongst them because I enjoy that place. So I think that's the best part of District 4, the people, because that's community. It's not just somebody coming from somewhere. That's community. I can go down the street and find a house that somebody grew up in and now the children in the house. It's community in District 4, and we have that if we have nothing else.
Fernetta Riley, the best features of your district and the things you'd like to see improved.
The people. The people are the best in District 4. West Side, y'all know we got it. We've always had it. We have family oriented, and we've got to get back to it. But we've got to get these abandoned homes together. We've got to get back cleaning up our neighborhoods so we can get back in our parks and have these outings. Because once a month for neighborhood or outwatch, let's do it every month. Why we can't just get together and communicate and collaborate in everybody's neighborhood in District 4? Everybody has a park in District 4. Let's get to work. That's why I believe in accountability, and we're going to get to work in District 4. Let's clean it up, let's get our families back, and let's unite each other back together again. And that's what I'm expecting to do in District 4. Pick the phone up. It's all right to call that neighbor and say, let's sit on the porch and let's talk. Let's walk over to Twin Gates and have a good time. Let's go to South Lawn and have some barbecue. Come to Western Hill and just let's sit out there in the park and dance. We can do this. Let's do it, District 4.
Thank you. And Mr. Dawson, your thoughts on your district, the things you like about it, the things you'd like to see improved.
I did not have sex with that woman. I do not go into clubs. I stayed out of close confined places where I have personal interactions. Seek ye the widening path of growth, because one of the things that we have to do is make sure that our personal interactions are those things that we pay attention to. I don't like going into a lot of public establishments because one thing that I find, people have cameras now, people have videos now, people taking pictures of you now, people doing stuff now. Yes, I mentioned it. I mentioned it for a reason. You know, sometimes when people want to tell a story about you, sometimes when people want to paint a picture of you, that picture is not a true picture of who you are.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
know
Dawson.
that the Montgomery Advertiser used to print the paper on the 5th grade level. And I've learned through personal experience, Channel 12, that a news paper reporter will concoct a news story for the sensation of making headlines.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. We will wrap up with Ms. Kalia Bell, who has the same question.
Okay,
Same
I
question.
don't know if you all are gonna know what I'm talking about, but if I say 2001 West Fairview, do you know what I'm talking about? Y'all already know. West Side. People, nobody, well, they haven't lied, these young ladies not, but the people on the West Side, we show each other each and every time we have a green and gold situation that it's all about family. We can change this narrative. There is no reason we have to continue down the path that we've been thrust upon. Carver leads the way in showing us that all we have to do is stick together. When we get together, everybody in the city knows. Who gonna check us? Nobody. Nobody. Y'all know. Every school wants to have that green and gold pride. We are welcoming all of our lovely Sidney Lanier people coming. We love you. We love you. We are opening our arms to you. But y'all know, 2001 West Fairview.
These are our District 4 candidates, Kalia Bell, the incumbent, Audrey Graham, Fernetta Riley, and Terrence Dawson. Thanks to all of you for joining us tonight, and thanks to all of you for being in our audience. We're going to take our break and move to the next race. Just two candidates that are running for District 5, so this portion of the forum should go a little bit faster, a little bit more smoother. We'll see. We look forward to hearing from the incumbent in the race, Cornelius C.C. Calhoun, and his challenger, Andre Ruffin, who were both gracious enough to join us tonight here at the Alabama Department of Archives and History. Thanks to all of you who are also watching at home. on our digital online platforms of WSFA 12 News. As we did with the other candidates, we'll start with an introduction and an opportunity for you to talk about the pressing issue, the most pressing issue you feel as though is facing Montgomery or perhaps your district individually. And we'll start with the incumbent in the race, Mr. Calhoun.
Thank you, Mark. Is the mic on?
It is on for our online viewers,
Okay.
but speak loudly enough for the audience in the room to hear you as well.
Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Mark, for having to thank the host for putting this on. I'm C.C. Calhoun. I'm 16 years city council. I'm finishing up my 4th term. I'm a native of Montgomery, married, homegrown here in Montgomery. Went to high school here, finished school, went off the military and retired military, came back to start my family and raise my family here in Montgomery, Alabama. One of the most pressing issues that I see in Montgomery, you know, we talk about a lot of things, but I think it's an education process or educating the public of what goes on in city government, what we need to do in order to make changes within Montgomery. We can talk about crime, education, but we have to get people to understand actually what goes on and how we make Montgomery better as a whole. So we put education together. We got to continue to educate the public, the communities, on how we go forward and what we need to do and how we want to see Montgomery in our future.
Thank you. An introduction and most pressing issue from you, Mr. Ruffin.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the invite. I'm Andre Ruffin, running for District 5 for City Council. You know, back in the late 1980s and early 90s, there was a commercial that came on by Vidal Sassoon, and they made a statement, and that statement always stuck with me. And it stated, if you don't look good, we don't look good. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we don't look good in some areas when it comes to Montgomery. Number one, the crime. We can tell people all the time that crime has not been a big issue, but crime is a big issue here in the city of Montgomery. Number two, our community, our image. When you look at our community, there are damaging things that are going on in certain areas of District 5. And number three, our youth. Our youth, there's always been a rising uptick in terms of what we need to do to improve the quality of life for our youth. I am a former Marine. Served 8 years in the Marine Corps. I switched over to the Army. I'm a captain in the United States Army Reserve. Taught at Robert E. Lee for a period of 10 years, and I'm here to serve. Looking forward to going above and beyond. So that's my platform going forward, and that's those are the 3 pressing issues that we have in the city of Montgomery.
Mr. Ruffin, if elected to this position, how would you be accountable to your constituents, especially when you consider that there have been times in the past when citizens have complained about an inability to reach their city council members?
You know, one of the best qualities of a man is when he can reevaluate his ideas and stick to his issues, stick to his priorities. And I think over the past 4 years, 8 years to be exact, I think we've kind of missed the mark in that regard. And a thing that we need to do is, as people, as a people, we need to understand to be present. Be present. In order to be a thing, you have to see a thing. So you have to take that in regard and make sure that you press forward and let people know that, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here to go above and beyond for you, and take those steps, those necessary steps, to make sure that you're here to do the right thing.
Accountability to your constituents, Mr. Calhoun.
I will continue to be accountable. I will continue to be accessible. I'll continue to be out in the community. I'll continue to come to your churches. I will continue to be that person that you see on the streets of Montgomery, not as a city council, but as a citizen here in Montgomery, showing you what it's about. To be a leader, you have to see the people within your community that you want to try to lead. It's not a position for me. I'm here from Montgomery. I believe in where I live. I believe in this city. I believe in these people, and I believe in the citizens of District 5. I have always been accessible. I have phones. If you look at it in the audience, you see a lot of T-shirts that say, C.C. Calhoun, that is my team. If you can't get me, you can get them. So that's what we're here for. We don't have a staff. I will continue to be accessible for the people of this city and Montgomery.
Mr. Calhoun, for the people of your district who rely on public transportation to get around, to get to work, are there ways that the city can improve it or make it more responsive?
And I think what we're doing, Mark, great question. I think we're funding public transportation, our MATS program here. I see some advocates for our MATS program out in the audience, Ms. Sankey and all. So we're doing what we need to do from a city standpoint to put the money behind our MATS. And I think what we have to do as leaders in the city, people are hired to do a job. We have to hold them accountable and let them do the jobs. And that's what we're doing. If you look at the bus system that we have here in Montgomery, we have purchased new buses. We have purchased new buses. I think one of the things we have to look at overall is the routes that we use. And I think I heard some candidates say earlier, we have to make sure it's viable transportation to get people to and from. You know, I look at the bus system sometimes at night, and I see very few people on it. So we have to change those routes. We're putting the funding behind it, and we have to educate people that we do have public transportation that you can use here in this city. But me personally, I know, you know, we have all types of alternative transportation. People in here drive everywhere they go. You know, we're a city of Montgomery. We're not a New York. So we don't have those buses that go all the time. So we got to get people to get on those buses so it makes sense to keep putting money behind those buses.
And your thoughts on the same question?
I would put my support behind Mayor Reed 100%. I think bringing that funding in has been a top priority for the mayor. It's been a top priority for the city council. We have done some things in the past in order to make sure that we place a premium on assisting people in the public when it comes to public transportation. But moreover, I think we need to support them in terms of the equipment. The equipment has been good. The equipment has been great. But I think we need to educate the public on terms of what makes it a success story for the match program. And I don't think that has had an opportunity to get out there at a fast pace. So we have to do that in regard of educating our people. Match is important, especially on the west side, especially on the north side. I think DOT has done a great job in funneling down money to the local level in order to push us forward, in order to make us move, to make us a success story. So I think overall, I think we've done a good job in our MATS program.
And Mr. Ruffin, we'll ask this next question of you first. Two issues that affect Montgomery, crime, especially as we see gun violence numbers go up, and homelessness. We've seen the panhandling issue discussed as of late. Can you think about ways, as a city councilor, you could address crime and or homelessness?
I think one of the biggest things that needs to be addressed or should be addressed is that no one has ever thought about a crime plan. And a crime plan is something that is most strategic in terms of what has the biggest impact on Montgomery. Our youth? Is it our youth with crime? Is it robbery? Is it things that happen in the community that makes us, look pretty bad? So we need an actual plan that we can put in place to say, hey, these are some of the issues that we have that needs to be addressed head on. Number two, when it comes to homelessness, I'm a former veteran, and I've talked to some homeless people out there on Eastern Boulevard, on Southern Boulevard, homeless shelters. And the one thing that I see is that no one has actually provided that partnership or that relationship. The VA has done a good job, but at the local level, our city council, we have to get out there and perform those partnerships and those relationships in order to get those type of people off the street. Now, we have to do it at a rapid pace, because if not, then that is going to be a groundswell in terms of getting getting those people off the street. So we have to do what we need to do necessary to make it a success story.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Mr. Calhoun.
Here's Mark. When we look at crime, you know, that's a buzzword throughout this United States of America. When we look at crime, I think crime is a thing where we have to say, it starts at home. When we look at what we want in our community, how do we educate our young people? How do we just educate people that want better? And I think that starts with economics. You know, we have to build this economy and build this city and this state about where we employ people. And when you empower people through economics, you empower households, you empower families, and you empower people to want to do better with their lives. And when we do those things, we'll have a great city and a great state and a great country that we live in. It's about empowering people and what you want. And homeless, in so many words, is a choice. You know, you have to really get to the root cause of why people are out on these streets and homeless. You know, we have the mental health facilities. We have the nonprofits within this city of Montgomery that the city council funded, the state funding, to go out and reach those people. I had a situation in my district where I saw someone pushing a basket. I reached out to one of our mental health department and they went out to talk with that person. That person made the choice that I wanted to be on the street. So it's a choice where you're there. We have the facilities, we have these things, the Salvation Army, we have these things out there to help these people to get off the street. It's a choice that we're making.
Mr. Calhoun, let's talk about race relations in Montgomery. It is a topic that people have talked about in Montgomery, for 200 years?
All right, let's do this in this room. Everybody, just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. So what do you see? I think race is in the eye of the beholder. It's based on what you see. Mr. Ruffin is a military guy. I'm a military guy. We have to learn to get along. You know, we got to learn to love what you see and find what you see good in that person. You know, it's a diverse community. I talked with someone today. I knew this question would come up. When we all leave here, is heaven going to be diverse? You know, there's a diverse heaven. I didn't read nowhere in the Bible where it said we're going to have a black heaven, a white heaven, a Hispanic heaven. We all going to die and go one place. So we got to learn to get along on this earth, because the book said we can't get along here, we can't get along up there. So if you close your eyes and move around this city, we get along. A commercial had out, you put 2 babies in a sandbox. They got along well. So race is taught. So it's all about what you see and what you want in this community, how we move forward.
And your thoughts?
As you look at Montgomery, we're one of the most multi-ethnic, multiracial, and multicultural cities in the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. If you think about that, I'll take a page out of Roland Martin's book, and everyone knows Roland Martin. He said, on Sundays, what do you get? We're in our silos. The most segregated place that we have is the church. So if you think about that, what can we do to improve ourselves? What can we do to improve race relations? What can we do to improve the relationships? What can we do to improve the partnership? What can we do to go above and beyond to make sure that we're on a straight and narrow to move forward? And I think that we have to put ourselves in a position to say, hey, let me talk to this guy that may, or gal, that may not be on a straight arrow in terms of moving forward racially. Some people, and I hate to say it, some people don't want to know any better when it comes to race relations. But we have to place a premium on people. And if we don't place a premium on people, then we're not going to be in good shape, ladies and gentlemen. So we have to make sure we have those partnerships, those relationships going forward in order for us to make ourselves a success story going forward.
This is your opportunity to talk about improvements you'd like to make to Montgomery. We've been asking as our last question of all the candidates what they like best about their district and what they'd like to improve about their district. And we'll start with you, Mr. Ruffin.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mark. I think that our image is one of the best things that we have here in our district. I get out, I meet some of our legacy residents that we have in the city, having them and talking to them about how things were back in the 80s or the 90s, and talking to them about the relationships that they had. Partnership is very important, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get to a place to where we can speak to people in a way that's going to move us forward. I spoke with a former city councilman about a couple of weeks ago, and he said the biggest issue, not the biggest, he said the biggest thing that we have going forward for the city of Montgomery is the people. Let that sink in for 2 seconds. The people. So if the people are able to get along, we can move ourselves forward. Now, on the flip side of that, we have to look at our image again when it comes to our neighborhoods, our infrastructure, things that need to be addressed, our streets, our roads, our callbacks, things of that nature. So we have to put ourselves in a position to make sure that we can move forward and address those issues head on in order for us to be a success moving forward.
What you like about your district or Montgomery and what you want to see improved.
Mark, I don't like anything. I love the district, and I love the diverse people that I represent in District 5 and in the city of Montgomery. I love the people, and that's why I do this job. I am a people person. I'm outgoing. I want to be involved with the people. If I can hug all you guys tonight, I'll do it. I can come in your rooms tonight, I will do that. But I don't have the time when you're trying to do the work of a city council or elected official. You have so many things that you have to be in me to bring what people say the bacon, but I like to bring the steaks home. So these are the things that we have to do when we come out and work in this city, and we have to do those type things and it work. And so I love the people, and I love doing what it takes to do the people. And when we look at Montgomery, we have to change what we say the perception. And it takes you and me to change that perception of what we see every day. We got to talk about the positive things that we see on a daily basis, talk about the good things. It's just like I said earlier, you got to find the good that you see in a person in order to move what we need to do. And if you see the good, if we look at the good that we see in people, we'll be a lot better city, a lot better state, and a lot better country. We got to stop the divisiveness, and let's come together as one and move forward.
District 5 incumbent City Council Representative C.C. Calhoun and his challenger Andre Ruffin joining us on this live forum tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great job as always. It's so nice to see you. All right, we're moving on in this forum online at WSFA.com, our Facebook page, WSFA's news apps, and on our YouTube channel. However you're viewing us, be sure to share this link on your social media pages. Tell your friends about it, because these links are going to be good until the election. The election is coming up August 22nd, so keep that in mind. Make sure that you go to the polls and vote for Montgomery Mayor and Montgomery City Council. We have skipped District 6 because that district only had one candidate. So now we're moving on to District 7, which, by the way, has no incumbent running this year. And so joining us on the stage are our candidates, Christopher Turner, George Childress, Charles Dillahay, and Andrew Szymanski. Another candidate, Jamal Brown, was unable to join us tonight. And so we'll start with Mr. Turner at the end of the table, and then we'll move down the row, and we'll start with your opportunity to introduce yourself and talk about a pressing issue facing District 7. And you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Mark, and thank our host. It's great to be with you tonight. There's no question that if you were to ask someone what the most pressing issue is in District 7 and probably throughout Montgomery, it would be crime. And we'll have a chance to talk about that, I would imagine, a little bit later. I want to talk about the fact that we need to rebuild our infrastructure within District 7. We've got crumbling roads. We've got roads, some of which that have not been repaved since they were put down. We'd like to invest in accessible recreational opportunities for everyone to get out and enjoy themselves, especially within District 7. I'm Christopher Turner, and I am born and raised in District 7, born in Jackson Hospital, raised a little bit south of there on Narrowlane Road, and I'm a proud alum of Sidney Lanier High School. So I think of District 7 as the heart of Montgomery, regardless of whether or not you live there. You're going to spend time there, probably someday visiting our shops or our restaurants or our parks.
Thank you. And next up is George Childress with his introduction and thoughts about the pressing issues.
Thank you, Mark, for having me, and thank you, WSFA. I'm George Childress. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery, Alabama. Born in St. Margaret Hospital to a wonderful mother, and I grew up on the west side. So I know what there's a lot of pressing issues are. I'm not going to talk to you about crime because we've all been the victim of crime. And I've almost was held up by carjacker and almost shot and killed. But what I am going to talk to you about is that we have these divisions and subdivisions. And what I'm going to do about it is institute a community engagement reassociation assessment program. And what that is going to do is going to look at two things, community and unity. We hear a lot of candidates talk about that, but this is going to be one way that we can get down into each subsection of each district, my district and other districts, to help us get back to be the Montgomery that we know and we can be.
Thank you. Mr. Dillahay, tell us about yourself and the issues you feel are most pressing.
My name is Charles Dillahay. I'm a long-time resident of Montgomery as well. Been living in the same place for plus 60 years and had but one address since I've been on earth. And I do find crime as a problem and also cleanliness. And my platform was and is we're going to clean up and we're going to work on crime throughout the city. My position is until you get anything clean and you get it safe, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot going forward. So I would like to see the cleanliness and crime better addressed.
Thank you. And Mr. Szymanski.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Szymanski. I've been a resident of Montgomery's 7th District for the last 13 years. I am a small-time real estate developer. I'm a co-owner of Hilltop Public House, a coffee shop and bar in the Cottage Hill neighborhood. I'm the executive director of a statewide nonprofit organization, and I believe that I'm the candidate that's bringing forth modern and creative solutions to the problems that are facing our city today. So the issue that's kind of forefront for me is making sure that Montgomery has safe and vibrant neighborhoods. I want to make sure that we're investing in public safety through recruitment and resources. I want to make sure that our streets are cleaned and well maintained. That includes our sidewalks, thoroughfares, bridges. And finally, I think it's important for us in Montgomery to pursue ambitious quality of life projects that will enhance future generations' experiences here in the city of Montgomery. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to our hosts.
Thank you. We'll start with this next question with Mr. Childress, and we'll talk about the ways in which you want to be accountable to your constituents. And we asked that question because these questions were agreed upon with our partners, and they have said that they understand that there have been problems in the past with city councilors who sometimes are not responsive to their constituents. Your thoughts?
Yes, Mark, and I agree, and that's a disgrace. If you're going to be a public service should be your main focus 24 hours a day, whether you have a full-time job or a part-time job. And how I'm going to be accountable is I'm going to give my email, my phone number to every business that is in the district where they can report to me 24/7, every school in the district where they can report to me 24/7. If there's a problem in the school, I will give my email and phone number to the school systems in the district so they can report to me 24/7. Even though this is a part-time job, this is still a full-time job. You all are voting for me to make your life better. I can't do my job effectively if I'm not doing the job for you. I can expect you all to be effective as citizens of the city if I'm not doing my job effectively.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Accountability to your constituents, your thoughts, Mr. Dillahay.
Well, having been in the same place for over 60 years, everybody already know me. So when I get the calls now, I hear from time to time people say, questions I asked, what are you going to do day one? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but day one started for me back about 10 years old. So I've been doing the same thing all my life. Most people know me. Ones that don't know me know somebody who do know me. So I get the calls now. I have to be accountable as we speak. If someone needs something done, if they don't call me on the phone, see me walking down the street, driving through the neighborhood, hey boy, come here. I need so-and-so done. And by me growing up, in the same place, everybody knowing me, hey, that's what I get. So, I'll continue to do what I've always been doing. And, however it comes out, I'll continue to serve the people because that's what my life is about.
Thank you. And Mr. Szymanski?
Well, I launched my campaign back in early January, and the reason we launched the campaign so early in the process is because I really wanted people to understand my commitment level to this role. We've been working hard, connecting with neighbors, meeting people across the district to make sure that I understood fully, the issues that mattered most to the residents of District 7. On top of that, currently I've been doing Coffee with the Candidate every Thursday. Hopefully we'll be making that Coffee with the Councilman. I've also, which I may regret at some point down the line, but have made the commitment to going live on social media after every single city council meeting, just so I could recap what was done in that meeting with any interested citizens, connecting with citizens and making sure that they understand what is going on throughout all the chaos of an actual city council meeting. And finally, we've also committed to hosting quarterly meetings throughout the district, just another avenue for people to be able to connect with their council person, so we make sure that we're staying up to date on the issues that matter most to our citizens.
Accountability to your constituents, Mr. Turner.
Mark, when I'm elected to the city council, I'll be representing a lot of people I'm related to. You can bet that they will hold me accountable, especially my mother. It is not just enough to show up every once in a while. That would give your constituents an opportunity to show out if they don't see your face. I will be active in my community as I already am. I will continue to be there for the neighborhood associations, for the meetings. I will be available anytime during the day that there needs to be a problem addressed within District 7. It's important that you be visible. It's important that you be present. It's important that you be neighborly within a district, especially like District 7.
Mr. Dillahay, what are your thoughts on Montgomery's public transportation system? Does it need to be improved further? Is it meeting the needs of residents of Montgomery who rely on it?
Well, not having a lot of knowledge about the bus system, the things that I have heard the most was extended hours. Now they're getting new buses, so I guess that helps a little. But what I have noticed in my travel, the bus stops, they need to be improved. I feel some of the bus stops are run down, torn up, grass has grown all over them, and there's nowhere really to sit. And I think that is something that we could look at, and that's about the extent of my knowledge about the bus.
Okay. And Mr. Szymanski, do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, Mark, and I think this question has really gotten simplified to just talking about buses. It's 2023, and we need to talk about infrastructure in a much more modern and creative way. We need to talk about pedestrian infrastructure. We are one of the only cities, major cities in the South, that does not have any real pedestrian infrastructure plan being implemented. We've seen a lot of progress that's been done by the River Region Trails Project. I commend all the hard work that's been done with that. And we need to take the current investment that we have in a program like that and advance it so much further. I don't think a lot of people realize, but about 73% of car rides in this city are for 5 minutes or less. 5 minutes or less. That means that people are getting into a car and driving less than half a mile, maybe a mile. If we want to talk about fixing some of our infrastructure stuff, it has to go beyond just the traditional, we need more buses. Yes, I agree. Everyone said we need more buses, but we need to be better when we talk about these things. And when we talk about infrastructure, we have to talk about pedestrian infrastructure.
Okay. Christopher Turner, thoughts on transportation?
Public transportation is critically important to a segment of our population that goes to and from work and may not have any other reliable transportation. I was on Fairview Avenue when the mayor rolled out the new buses. I believe that's a wise investment that will pay off in the long run for the city of Montgomery. We certainly need to make sure that our bus shelters are ADA compliant and that would provide shelter from the rain or the sun or anything as people are waiting for their bus. Montgomery is also the home of the first electric streetcar system. Montgomery needs to look at that. We need to build on that history, and I would love to reestablish the Lightning Route down Dexter Avenue as soon as possible. Maybe tapping into transportation resources through the Department of Transportation in D.C. The Lightning Route could run up Dexter. It could turn around the new State House that we're about to build, and it could go down through Commerce Street and drop people off to have lunch. It's just a creative solution. It's something that would be unique to Montgomery, and it would build on our history.
And Mr. Childress, your thoughts on the same issue?
Yeah, back in 2018, I got into a bad car accident, and me and my mother had to take the bus for that whole year. And recently, we had some engine trouble, and we waited on the bus on the Atlanta highway for literally almost 3 hours, and that's ridiculous. So what we need is we need to look at a 24-hour system in every neighborhood where they rolling in and rolling out. And also what we need to do is to look at also alternative means of transportation, not just a bus, maybe somewhat like a semi train route or semi bicycle route, or something that is a joint combination of both. Because I think if we focus a lot more so on infrastructure, then we are leaving out the main reason of what we are here for is transportation. So I think the transportation is what we need to be focusing on more so.
Thank you so much. And we'll start with you, Mr. Szymanski, on this next question, which deals with crime. We've also given you an opportunity within this question to address homelessness, if you feel that's an issue that the City Council can address. So what are your thoughts on either crime or homelessness and how a City Council person can address those issues?
Sure. So the first thing that we'll talk about is crime. Obviously, you've heard tonight, and I agree with everybody that said it. We need to make sure that we're committing the resources that are needed to make sure that our public safety departments, and that's not just police, that's police, fire, and 911 operators, have everything they need to do their jobs efficiently, safely, and effectively. The second part of that is recruitment. We keep hearing about recruitment as being an issue, and I know that we have incentive programs in Montgomery, but I think we can do better there. I'd love for Montgomery to start emulating other cities, taking on programs like no down payment home loans for police officers who are willing to live in our communities and be our neighbors. Programs like that can be incentives that are not just cash, things that really create neighbors and help have anchors within our different districts. And for homelessness, I'll just say this. First off, homelessness is not just one issue. There are homeless, there are people struggling with mental illness, and there are people that are just kind of caught in between in a moment. And we have to partner up with all of the organizations in this city that address those different issues, not funnel it into one issue of homelessness, so that we can effectively address each population as needed.
Thank you, Mr. Szymanski. And now to Christopher Turner.
I think when you talk about crime, you default to talking about the police department. But we have to make sure that we are recruiting and training, retaining and rewarding the best men and women, first responders across the board, all of the open positions currently at the City of Montgomery, in the police department, in the fire department, in the streets department, in the sanitation department, because they might be the first individuals to respond to a problem. As far as homelessness, I think homelessness goes somewhat hand in hand with mental health. We have to invest in mental health providers within Montgomery. We have to make sure that our police officers have the mental health providers as yet another tool to help diffuse situations that may come up. I am very proud of the fact that probate court, the state of Alabama, and Montgomery County's commission have worked together to establish a mental health crisis center on Carmichael Road that quadrupled the number of beds that we had available for people that were experiencing crisis.
Thank you. And now on to you, Mr. Childress, with the same question.
Yes, crime and homelessness. One way we can do this is by expanding the police department and the fire department. What we can do is we can have psychological officers, psychological firefighters, and psychological paramedics that is trained to get these people up. One of the main things is that if we are spending our resources and our financial resources all in a different way and not looking at the people who are actually coming to contact with these individuals, the first responders, we are wasting our time. So I think that we need to have specialty officers within these, such as the police department and the fire department, to deal with these situations when they come up.
Okay. And Mr. Dillehay.
Homelessness. I think as a city council person, the extent would be to continue to fund and support the people that actually had to work with homeless people, because it's like you said, it's more than one facet to the reason they are homeless. And I think it would be better served if you were to work with the people that has the expertise, because everyone has a solution, but if you don't know how to get to that solution, really is not serving the people that need to be served. And I would also like to say, when it comes to as far as the crime is concerned, I think in order for us to get a handle on crime, one of the things we need to start doing is looking at some of the smaller things. As I travel through neighborhoods, you see people hanging out everywhere and doing some all kind of things. I don't know where, with a shortage of police officers, where we would start that, but I think we need to look at concentrating on some of those areas that's highly populated with people hanging out and those type of things, and get back to regular policing, neighborhood policing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dillehay. 60-second answers. We'll start this next question with you, Mr. Turner. Montgomery is considered the birthplace of the civil rights movement, but we often see issues of tensions between the races in Montgomery. What can the city of Montgomery or a city council person do to address that issue?
The city of Montgomery must provide an atmosphere where everyone can prosper, where everyone is given an opportunity to succeed. If that requires the city investing in early morning education programs or late afternoon education programs, I think that would only pay off for all of us in the future. I was raised in a colorblind home, and it would be perfect if everyone had been, and if we all operated in a colorblind world. Unfortunately, it creeps in on us. My father worked for Frank Johnson. He was there in 1965 when the hearings were taking place to justify the march from Selma to Montgomery. He got on the elevator one day and ended up face-to-face with Dr. King, and Dr. King asked him, he said, "Do you work for Frank Johnson?" My dad said, "Yes." And then Dr. King went on to say that man embodies justice. If all of us would live to maybe that expectation, if all of us would aim to maybe embody justice, it would be a better place and our city would be a better city.
Race relations in Alabama's capital city. Charles Dillehay. Oh, I'm sorry. We're moving next to George Childress. I apologize.
Okay.
One more chance, and then your turn.
Okay. Mark, the problem of it is that I think we just have all of these subdivisions. I think we put the educated versus the least educated versus the non-educated. And I think the way we can do that is to get back in here and look at these civil clubs, these sub-clubs, to do something to get back in here to lift these people up. Because I think that we are not looking at people for what their talent are, but we're looking at them on the outside about what we think they can do. And I think that is the main problem. Regardless of what skin color you have, you know, Martin Luther King said that I had a dream today. He didn't say he had a dream yesterday. He said today. So what that means is that we have to look at people where they are now, not later.
Okay. And now the same question to Mr. Dillehay.
Well, one of the things that have always brought people together was music and sports. And having grown up a part of both of those, I think it's important that we encourage those events, music events, sports events, and, you know, what we're going to just have to continue the conversations where we can have them, when we can have them, and do what we can to bridge the gap. Will it ever be solved? I don't have the answer to that. But I think just supporting more music events, sporting events, and continue the conversation is the path that I would like to see us take.
Mr. Szymanski.
Mark, you asked about how the council can start by representing the unification and demonstrate the leadership that's needed when our city faces some of the crises like we had over this past weekend. Our city leaders need to band together and do a better job of saying that things like that are not okay. We have to represent what it is we want to see within our citizenry. For too long, I think we've elected individuals to go there and represent districts. We haven't asked them to represent the city as a whole and to find ways to be representation of one Montgomery, not just individual districts. So as a city councilor, I think one thing that could be done is to work with fellow council people, work with people at the county, the mayor's office, even the Chamber of Commerce, and say, as city leaders, we all have to do better. We have to band together. We have to show people in Montgomery that this is not who we are and that we deserve a better future.
Thank you. And our last question will give you an opportunity to talk about improvements you'd like to make in your district. And we'll start with George Childress. What are the best aspects of District 7, and what would you like to enhance about it?
Mark, District 7 is huge. And I think what I can want to enhance about it is just everything. I think to get the people, first of all, together, to create a one District 7 neighborhood association, like they have in Cloverdale, like the Cloverdale Neighborhood Association, and get out there and just see, because District 7 is beautiful. It is the historic spot in the city of Montgomery. And I don't think there's anything that I don't love about it. I just think there's everything that I just want to see it to grow better and to be improved better and to be unified. And so that can spread throughout the whole entire city.
Thank you. What you like best about District 7, Mr. Dillehay, and what you would like to bring to the district as far as improvements are concerned?
Well, the one thing that I like about District 7 that I love about it is the people. The people are people. They're really nice. And I enjoy living there. I've lived there, as I say, all my life, and I enjoy the people. But I did want to say this. What happened over the weekend, I haven't heard one council person say that that was acceptable. And I haven't heard anyone say that in my conversation as I travel. And I think, you know, that was an unfortunate situation, and hopefully we won't see anything like that anytime soon. But that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Szymanski, your thoughts?
Sure. Well, I love all the wonderful small businesses we have in District 7. I'm a small business owner myself, and I have always appreciated being able to walk and enjoy, whether it's dinner or drinks or wonderful places to shop. We have great small and local businesses in District 7. But I, as a small business owner and someone who's taught to many of them, the process of being one is not easy, and the City Council has got to make that process better. It's cumbersome. It makes it difficult for people who don't, my small business, I have a full-time job, and my small business is kind of a side project for me. And the challenges that we went through in getting Hilltop Public House open were many and very frustrating. And so while I love the fact that we have wonderful small business, I think we could have a whole lot more. We could be incentivizing people to come to our city, to come and work, to come raise their families, and also have their own kind of side project small businesses. So whenever I'm in District 7, we always try and find a way to go enjoy an evening out, and I think that's one of the best assets that we have.
The best features and what you'd like to see improved. Mr. Turner.
Ready, go. District 7 is the heart of Montgomery. The people are amazing. The neighborhood associations are active, and they own and they work. Our parks, we're next door to Milo Howard Auditorium. Milo lived in Old Cloverdale for years. There's a park named for Milo there. Dirks, El Rey, Martin's, John Ainlick's Service Center. Just the sense of neighborliness that's found throughout District 7. It's very much my favorite place in the city. I look forward to representing it. It is very much home.
Okay. So that's your District 7 candidates. Thanks, everybody, and give them a round of applause. And we are almost finished. We're taking a quick break to bring the candidates for District 8 to the stage. We have got two more races to profile for you tonight. We're up to District 8, and then we'll go to District 9, and we'll be finished with this forum. We encourage you to let your friends and neighbors know about this. It will be archived on these online platforms so that between now and Election Day, August 22nd, you can go back. You won't have to watch the whole thing. You can go to your specific district if that's what you'd like to do, or you can go back and watch the mayoral portion of the forum, and it will be available between now and Election Day. Again, District 8 is where we are at this point, and our incumbent is Glenn Pruitt Jr., who is sitting on the opposite end of the table from me, and then we also have closest to me Terrell Anderson and Johnny Cotton, who are his challengers. We will start at this end of the table with you, Mr. Anderson, and give you a chance to introduce yourself and talk about the issue that's most pressing to you.
Okay. Well, my name is Terrell Anderson. I was born and raised here in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm a graduate of Carver High School on the west side of Alabama. I've done work for campaigns before as a communications director. And for me, some of the most pressing issues in the city is one, of course, crime. A second is education. A third is community development. And those are some of the things I would like to see worked on more towards in this city.
And thank you very much. Mr. Cotton, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. My name is Johnny Cotton, and I'm running for City Council, District 8. I'm running because I embody a vision of a community built on public trust, accountability, and shared prosperity. I'm a former Montgomery police officer with over 2 decades of experience here in the city of Montgomery. I also served as the internal affairs investigator for the entire city of Montgomery. So through my experience as a criminal justice professional, educator, I'm prepared to lead the citizens of District 8 to a more vibrant and better community.
And an introduction from our incumbent, Mr. Pruitt.
Mark, good evening. Listen, first, thank you for doing this, and I want to applaud you guys for hanging around for, the last 14 hours to hear Districts 8 and Districts 9. So, I applaud you guys and girls for staying around, so thank you. My name's Glenn Pruitt. I've been on the City Council for the past 20 years. I'm a business owner here in town. I own Pruitt Lawn Care. So if you know anybody that needs their grass, tell them to give me a call. I also coach high school baseball here in town. I coach at Brew Tech. I've been the head baseball coach for the last 9 or 10 years. And I think Mr. Cotton and I think Mr. Anderson are good people. They're talking about and telling you what they want to do is what I'm already doing today. I mean, you ride District 8. We have gates in 7 or 8 neighborhoods that the city of Montgomery has put in. We've put in speed humps. Every neighborhood in our district, every entrance has a camera that is tied into our Star Watch program. So we've worked diligently over the past 20 years. So listen, thank y'all for being here, and I look forward to, answering some questions, Mark, here in just a little bit.
Excellent. We'll start with Mr. Cotton on this next question. It's important that voters have access to their elected officials. There have been times when inquiries from citizens have gone unanswered by council members. How would you strive to be more accountable to your constituents? And you have 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Being accountable, first thing I want to do is create a Citizens Review Board. I believe that is one way to be accountable to the citizens of my district. I also think the city should establish what we call a management risk system, which track officers and their bad behavior, officers who've been accused of misconduct. Also, I like to foster a more open communications with the citizen of the district. Not only open communications, but providing solutions to those issues facing the district. It's easy to just put off our citizens, but just being accessible to our citizens is one of the key factors of my campaign.
Okay. Accountability, Mr. Pruitt.
Very simple, guys. I've been doing this for 20 years. If I wasn't accountable to the people in District 8, I would have got unelected after the first term. It's pretty simple. If it's not broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's pretty simple. Doc Finley sitting in the back from Carriage Hills tonight. I was talking at their homeowners meeting the other night. I've been to over 110 homeowners meetings at Carriage Hills in the last 20 years. That's a lot, people. That doesn't count Zoom meetings. That doesn't count National Night Out. So accountability, if I'm not accountable, I don't get elected for the next term. So I think I have been accountable.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Anderson.
Can you repeat the entire question?
We said that voters should have access to their elected officials, and that some of our partnering agencies with this forum have said that they have heard from constituents that there have been times, not blaming anyone at the table now, where constituents were unable to reach their council member. How would you be accountable to your constituents?
Well, first of all, for me, being accountable is I will always be there to answer the call. I'm going to say I'm always answer the call. If I can't get to the call, then I will have somebody on staff who can always return the call. But I will always return the call to be held accountable. And we also, when we talk about accountability, we also must talk about the transparency in Montgomery government as well. It's not just about them holding me accountable. I want all of the citizens of this city to hold every member of this city council accountable. And one thing I want to do if elected to city council is create a public database that shows every issue and every ordinance that a city council has voted for or against, like on the national level. On the national level, we get to see the members of Congress, what policies they voted against, or if they are voting in the favors of the citizens. And we do not have that here, so we can't go back and find out what has these city council members voted against or what they have voted for. And that's another way of holding us accountable, so we can be held accountable from our community.
Thank you. Mr. Pruitt, what are your thoughts, now that you've been in office for so long, about the improvements made to Montgomery's public transportation system, and what else needs to be done, if anything?
Mark, most of y'all know in this room that the federal government funds our transit system. We match 20%. We need to improve our routes. That's not top secret. We need to improve our bus stops. You know, we have purchased brand new buses recently, electric buses, but we have to make improvements to be able to get people to work every single day, get them to the grocery store, get them to school. So absolutely, public transportation is a must in the city of Montgomery.
Mr. Anderson, what are your observations about Montgomery's public transportation system?
Well, as a person who rides the public transportation faithfully, I've been riding the public transportation since the beginning of this year, since my car stopped working. There is a lot that needs to be done with our transportation system. We do need extra buses because there are long wait times for a bus, as well as we need shelters at every bus stop, because there have been times where it was pouring down raining and I had to stand in the rain or find shelter. And if a bus passes by before I can get to the bus stop, I would miss it. So we need more shelters at our bus stop. And when we think about when we think about getting new buses, we should also not settle for the less. I know it's good that we have new buses, but for me, I would have loved to see charge ports on these buses for people who ride the bus and their phone dies on the way. They need to charge their phone in case of an emergency. Or we could provide with Wi-Fi on our buses as well. We shouldn't just settle for just getting new buses. We should be thinking about innovating Montgomery forward.
And the same question to you, Johnny Cotton.
The city has over 50-plus boards. One of the boards is designed to assist citizens with exactly the question that you're asking. I haven't heard any elected official talking about working with those boards. Yet they're the ones who appoint people to these boards. So my solution is, number one, work with the transportation board. That's what they're here for. They're here to address these needs. See what practices and procedures they've implemented. Then and only then will we be able to address the concerns of our citizens by working together.
Thank you. And we'll start, I guess, next with you, Mr. Anderson. Crime is obviously a topic that all of our candidates, most of our candidates wanted to address tonight. We've also heard with the recent debate about panhandling about an increase in homelessness numbers in Montgomery. So how can the city address crime and homelessness, in your opinion?
Okay, so addressing crime, while everybody would think that, everybody says increase the police force, increase the use of police, that it is viable here in Montgomery that we do increase the police force. From the last I heard, we have about 350 police officers in a city of 198,000 people. So yes, it is important that we increase the police force, but everyone's main focus is on the police force. We need to focus on communities, because monuments of research has shown that communities that have abandoned homes that are boarded up, abandoned abandoned business buildings and lots that are empty or with overgrown grass. These communities need to be kept up. When you go out on the east side, you have nice communities. People on other side of towns want to see those nice communities, and it has been shown that keeping communities nice could reduce crime by 20%. And when it comes to homelessness, as a person who works with the homelessness twice a week, we need to have more shelters. We need to have places where these people can go to get drug addiction treatments and mental health help as well.
Okay. Same question to you, Mr. Cotton.
Well, as a former police officer in this city, I look at crime in 3 different ways. One as a former police officer, one as an educator. All my degrees are in criminal justice, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and my doctoral studies are in criminal justice. And third, I look at crime from a black man perspective. From the police perspective, attracting and retaining officers is a key issue. How do we do that? More sign-on bonuses, relocation assistance, tuition assistance, flexible work hours, better equipment. From the education standpoint, let's create a diversion program to assist our students who are between the ages of 8 and 17, instead of just locking them up and throwing away the key. Let's give them the financial skills, the work skills that they need in order to survive in this. The diversion program would also have parents be held accountable, as well as the students themselves.
Thank you very much. Crime and homelessness, ways that the city can step in to make a difference in those two issues, Mr. Pruitt.
Hey, both of these gentlemen are right. One, we have to do more for the police department. We gave the largest raise in history a couple years ago to the police and fire department and our sanitation workers. We have to do things. We have to pay these people like doctors and lawyers today. We're at an all-time low in our police department. So we have to attract back these officers for our neighborhoods to be safe. And as far as the homelessness goes, we started, and I started, you guys may remember, a Give Smart campaign that was run through the Central Alabama Community Foundation. Being on the city council, we have so many, and Cruz is here tonight, he sees every council meeting, we at least have 5 to 10 nonprofits that come down there and see us every single time, and Isaiah sees it as well. And we don't know where that money is going with those nonprofits, and people have to be accountable with y'all's money. So that's why we set it up with the Central Alabama Community Foundation. And do you know not but one nonprofit applied for that money to help the homeless in our city? That's a shame, but yet they'll come see us and Mr. Sankey.
Thank you very much. Our next question will start with Mr. Cotton, and we will talk about race in Montgomery, which Montgomery is in an interesting position, being that we have such a history when it comes to the civil rights movement here. So there are issues that cause tension between races even now, this many decades after that movement. What can the city of Montgomery do to lessen those racial tensions and improve relations?
The first thing the city can do is be open for new ideas, not just rely on their own solutions. New ideas, communicate. Let's understand the people who we serve as city councilmen, understanding that there's no one-size solution that fits all, but understanding who our constituents are. See, the people in Deer Creek have different needs than the people in Spring Valley, than Western Hills, than many of the other communities. So once we're open to new ideas, once we're able to communicate with the people who we serve, then and only then will we be able to overcome the racial tensions in the city.
Okay, Mr. Pruitt, same question.
Mark, I think C.C. Calhoun answered it the best tonight. He said, racism or race is in the eye of the beholder. And, you know, I guess I got a question for you, Mark. If the riverfront had not happened this weekend, would we have gotten the same question? Those people that started this stuff was not from the city of Montgomery. They are not representative of our people in the city of Montgomery. What happened was a terrible act. And look, they played a stupid game and got stupid prizes. That's what's happened at the end of the day. Those are not Montgomery people. They don't represent our beliefs in this city. And so I do think we still have some ways to go. But that this weekend is not representative of our city and not representative of Glenn Pruitt. Those guys should have, and I got 15 seconds, those guys should have never been in our city. We've had problems with them in the past. The police department knew about it. The captain knew about it. They should have never even been here. So that's not our Montgomery.
Thank you. And now to you, Terrell. Montgomery is considered the birthplace of the civil rights movement. However, this many years later, there are still tensions between the races. Is there something the city, or perhaps even a member of the city council, can do to lessen those tensions?
Okay, well, first we have to think about, well, although Montgomery is the birthplace of the civil rights movement, it's also the place that hosted the first White House of the Confederacy, which also hosted a society of people who
followed behind racist rules of the Confederacy. And we have to also acknowledge that it was the civil rights movement that moved those Confederates out of the way for the rest of the country and changed the course of history. And even though the civil rights movement passed, it was here in Montgomery after that passed that there was a certain population of people that moved away from the towns and that also opened private schools just not to deal with those even after the civil rights was passed. So, and we also have to acknowledge that we don't know the history that was taught down from kids to their grandkids to their kids today. So that also comes into play. And as far as the thing this Saturday, it wouldn't have never been seen as a race thing if it wasn't more than, if it was just a one-on-one fight, it wouldn't have been seen as a race thing, but it was seen as a race thing when more than one of the persons jumped in, and for people, black people, it looked like a public lynching, especially when they had the man in a chokehold, and we're seeing so many videos of police officers in other cities and places having black men in chokeholds and killing them, as well as all of the stuff that's on the news today with things going on with Florida and all of the other states. So even though those are not about Alabama, black people are seeing these things every day. So for something like that to happen, I wish it would have never happened, but we all have to also understand that with all the stuff and race tensions that black people are seeing in the news every day, black people are getting fed up. And Montgomery is not, I wish that didn't happen, but we have to be real about the conversation. As city council, we need to start having public groups and meetings about race and actually have real conversations about it.
Thank you. Mr. Cotton, did you have a chance to answer that question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, I lost track. I have been doing this so long. By the way, the questions were agreed upon by all of the different groups that helped sponsor this event, and were actually developed prior to this weekend. Not that that matters. I think that this weekend's event is relevant to the conversation. I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, so the last question is. You probably have heard from our previous forums. What is the best thing about your district, but also, perhaps more importantly, why or how can you improve your district if you are elected or re-elected? And there again, do we start with, I believe we start with you, Mr. Anderson? Why don't we start with you?
Well, the best thing about my district is it is very diverse. It have a host of diverse families from all colors and all races, all races, as well as it's a district that's very residential, more than it is for business. More residential areas in our district and more families in our district. And one of the best things about the district is there's so much room and space and opportunity for growth, for new businesses to come or new housing projects to come. There's a lot of room in our district for space and growth. That's one of the best things about District 8.
Okay. Mr. Cotton, what you like, but what you want to improve as well.
What I like in District 8 are the people. It's a very diverse district, from the north side to the east side to the west side to the south side. What I don't like in District 8 is the infrastructure. Bill Road needs to be widened out to 4 lanes, not just 2, and we shouldn't have to wait until BTW opens up before we widen the section of Bell Road. Also, Ray Thornton Road, we got Johnny Carr Middle School. There's no sidewalks. We got Johnny Carr Middle School, we got Blunt Elementary School, and there's no sidewalks for students to walk on Ray Thornton Road. Every day I'm watching them dodge traffic, in and out of traffic. So we've got some work to do in District 8, and I'm the one that can get this job done. So I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Cotton. And the same question to you, Mr. Pruitt.
Imagine this, I disagree with Mr. Cotton just a little bit. If I know you find that hard to believe. But I challenge you guys to ride District 8. Ride District 8 and see what's in District 8 that's not in your district. I challenge you to do that. What I like about District 8 is, and Dr. Finley's here, I shared this the other night, we in this room live in a 3-foot world. We go to the same church, we eat at the same place, we hang out with the same friends. We do the same thing over and over again, repetition. God has blessed me and put me in a 10-foot world. I've got to meet people that I'd never get an opportunity to meet. I've got people in my district that call my mother, that go to her prayer groups, that don't look like me. God has blessed me. And until we put God back in every single thing we do, whether it be school, whether it be city hall, whether it be police department, race relations, whatever, until we put him first, we're always going to be searching for an answer. And that's facts. Listen, Mark, thank you guys. Time's up.
Thank you so much to our District 8 candidates. Y'all can go this way. It was nice to meet you. Thank you. Yes. You have made it. This is the last segment of our online Montgomery Mayoral and City Council Forum. We are on City Council District 9, and we have an incumbent in this race, a longtime, well-known Montgomery politician, Charles Jenright, who is joining us, and his challenger this year, Darlene Skinner, is gracious enough to join us tonight here at the Alabama Department of Archives and History, our host for this forum, and we want to thank both of you for being here. Each of you will have a minute to answer these questions, and the first one will just be a chance for you to introduce yourself, and then we have been saying offer perhaps what you feel is the most pressing issue facing Montgomery or your district. And we'll start with you because you're closest to me, Ms. Skinner. You have 1 minute. Skyer. Yes. Say it again.
My name is Darlene Skyer.
Skyer.
Yes.
My apologies.
That's okay. I'm a 29-year resident of Montgomery. I'm a wife, mother, and a businesswoman. I went to the University of Alabama and graduated a very long time ago, and I'm currently pursuing my MBA at Bama as well. I am running in District 9 for a couple of reasons. I want to provide leadership and fresh, innovative ideas and solutions to the problems facing our community. What I feel the most pressing problems are, I believe that the 12,000 children of the 25,000 in MPS who are in need of after-school care from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., who are left out of everything. They don't have the recreational opportunities. They don't have the third space and green space opportunities. There's transportation issues to get them to where they need to go after school. Parents are working, they're struggling, they're strapped. We need to be thinking about everyone in Montgomery, not just necessarily District 9.
Thank you, Ms. Skyer, we appreciate that, and you can address that further after the subsequent questions if you'd like. Same question to you, Mr. Jenwright, your introduction and pressing issues.
I'm Charles Jenwright. I've been on the council now 28 years. I've been city council president for like 14, 15 years now. We are a lifelong resident of Montgomery. I guess I'm kind of like the Jeffersons on television. I moved on up. I raised in West Montgomery, now live in Wind Lakes. I tell you, the best thing about District 9 is all the good things that happen there. But the worst thing is the traffic. And being chairman of the MPO, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, handles all our roads for Tri-County, we've just gotten the okay to widen 85 from Taylor Road all the way to Wall. And that will help move traffic out of Montgomery. We worked for the last 10 years to get from Bell Road to Taylor Road widened and to the point that it accommodates most of the traffic that's there now. But that traffic issue on Taylor Road, I-85, has created a situation where you have a lot of wrecks and whatever. So my thing is to try to continue to have that because we got great revenue in District 9. East Chase is there, all the big stores, whatever there, and we have a lot of traffic from out of town coming in here to be there. So that's what my biggest thing is, okay?
Thank you. And we'll stay with you for the next question. You've been in office for a long time. How have you been accountable to your constituents, and how would you continue to do so? And the same question would be for you, Ms. Skyer. How would you be more accountable and responsive to your constituents? But we'll start with Mr. Jenwright.
I respond to the homeowners associations. Tonight, before we got in here, I have already had talked to 2 homeowners association presidents tonight. I think that homeowners associations in the city of Montgomery are the backbone of our city. Our council comes from that, but those people make sure that the neighborhoods are in good shape and they all are pushing for their neighborhoods. Council has 23,000 people in it, which is a bad situation because now we've shrunk from like 25,000 years ago down to 22,000 in each district now. But it's very vital that our homeowners associations continue to be supported and that they can get a hold of their councilman. All of my homeowners association presidents communicate with me with my cell phone or my email. And that way we can get back. We know exactly what the question is. We get taken care of, and it goes to whatever department in the city that needs to be taking care of those things.
Thank you. And Ms. Skyer, same question.
Well, first, I would listen to the residents. Second, I would want to communicate back to the council what I'm hearing from our residents. And then finally, I would want to be transparent about whatever decisions are made on the council. If you've ever tried to go research things that are done and said, you have to go through hours upon hours of videos. It's very difficult to find the actual minutes of each person's decision. What happened? Like, you know the agenda, but you don't necessarily know the outcome. So for me, I would want more transparency. I would want to listen. I would want to communicate. For instance, knocking on doors all weekend long. The one thing I heard was the drag racing on Parkview Drive in Halcyon. We need speed bumps. We need, stop signs. And several people said that they had signed multiple petitions to get this resolved. And also knocking on doors in Eastern Forest and what is that neighborhood next? Glenwood and Tuscany. All of these people are saying the same thing, drag racing and so on and so forth. Well, we want to know why these petitions weren't followed up.
Thank you.
Where did these things get dropped?
Thank you. Thank you. Our next question is about public transportation. Ms. Skyer, are there issues that need to be improved with Montgomery's public transportation system, and what would those be?
Most definitely, we need better transportation. That's another issue with the youth initiatives that I want to put in play. I've got several things that I'm working on with partners within our community, and transportation is the #1 issue, and it's the 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Issue of what are we doing with these children after school? Why is crime the way it is? Well, a lot of it is transportation. When parents are working, they can't get their kids where they need to get them, whether it's tutoring, whether it's recreational, whether it's a skate park, which I've heard so many times that it got moved to the zoo area, and they had a ride in its past place, but they can't get them there in its new position. I think that we can do better with stops. I think we could do better with social media. We could blow it up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anything. HOAs need to be putting it out there how parents can better find things for their children. And that's not just children. I heard it from veterans when I'm knocking on doors. They can't get to the VA. We can do better.
60-second answer. I apologize.
Sorry.
And the same question for you, Mr. Jenright, about public transportation.
Public transportation is basically runs from the mayor's office and the Department of Planning. And we always support whatever their plan is because they have more input into it on a daily basis than we do. I mean, one situation about the Veterans Association, veterans built a new place on Chantilly Parkway, knowing they didn't have any public transportation. It should have been built back in another area where more veterans were at. But they went and built it on the most expensive piece of property in the state of Alabama, probably, and they didn't have public transportation to it. They finagled around, and we actually got them public transportation because the people needed it. But we had to do it against what it should have happened. It should have happened somewhere else because the federal government spent a lot of extra money they shouldn't have spent.
So the next question then will be crime, which is an issue that all the candidates seem to want to talk about. Because we've had this issue of panhandling as of late in Montgomery, we've also wanted to include the issue of homelessness in this question. So how would you go about addressing the issue of crime and homelessness in Montgomery? And we'll start with you, Mr. Jenright.
Well, first of all, you've got a group here for the Homeless Association. The mayor also has a special task force on homelessness. We supported both of those in our budget, the city budget, every year so far. And things seem to not happen. We have the panhandling, which has been awful. It makes a bad scene. We've tried everything we could. We got sued as a city to stop locking the people up. That was the law group that stopped us. And we need more protection on that situation because these panhandlers and the homeless is a really bad situation. But we've got two different groups in Montgomery right now that if they get the job done, we wouldn't have the problem we have. But you can't just keep throwing money at things and not have some outcome. And these particular organizations, in my opinion, are not giving us outcomes.
Okay. Ms. Schuyler, same question, crime and homelessness.
Okay. First of all, I think that a lot of the homeless, we'll go to homelessness first. I think the homelessness and panhandling situation, a lot of that comes back to mental health issues. And I think that Montgomery as a whole could do a lot better. And one of the initiatives I'm working on with a small group of people right now with the same type of center that would be 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the youth, we want to do this initiative for mental health as well. And I think that if you're looking at probably the majority of the homeless people, they're either going to be veterans with mental illness or drug addiction or something like that. Their needs are not being addressed in that manner. And I would say the same thing for the panhandlers. I would question, why would anyone want to be out there, you know? So we need to address the real problem, the root cause, and that would, in my opinion, be mental illness. And we need those types of initiatives as a city, and we all need to get behind it.
Montgomery is the birthplace of the civil rights movement, as we say, but yet there are still, to this day, racial tensions among our citizens. Is there anything that the city can do to help, I guess, ease those racial tensions? And I will start with you, Ms. Schuyler, what your thoughts are about the race relations of Montgomery.
When I came to Montgomery 1994, I was told it was going to be for 1 year, and we never left. I love this town. I love Montgomery. I could go to Stuart, Florida, where I was raised, elementary, middle school, and high school, beautifully located on Hutchinson Island. But I choose to live here because I love the people. That being said, We had Jubilee in 1994, and that catches your, it's a very family-oriented thing. And as I raised children, we had things like Jubilee, the rodeo, we have Shakespeare, there's ballet in the park, there's, symphony at the archives. Those kinds of things are so attractive to my northern friends, to my South Florida friends. And when people come here, they love this place. So we need to do more of that. And I think we have all that. We just need to be more PR-friendly social media. This is a whole different age. We need to be getting those 17, 21-year-olds, 28-year-olds, they communicate differently than we do. So when you see people not show up, it's because we're not communicating effectively to that generation.
Thank you, Ms. Schuyler. And Mr. Jenwright, race relations in Montgomery, something that we've dealt with for many years.
Yeah, I think we've done, like One Montgomery, one of your sponsors tonight. They've been working for years. I don't know how many years One Montgomery. I know at least 20, 25 years they've been involved. Leadership Montgomery is another one. Been going on for 25, 30 years. And I'm a graduate of Leadership Montgomery. My wife's a graduate of Leadership Montgomery. I mean, all about trying to have better race relations in the city. And I think that's something we continue to do. But the one thing we do at City Council is we try to make sure that our City Council, all 9 council members, are together and working together, not working amongst one another, against one another, but together, because we want to project, as a council, the relationships of all of Montgomery's leadership to show a very positive outcome and a very positive relationship with one another. And that's where we go back on our council. We try to make sure we have as many 9-0 votes as possible, because every council member needs to get his input or her input, but you need to make sure that compromise comes along, so when the team comes up, the team has a good answer.
Thank you. All right, so now let's look to the future. What you would like to see improved about Montgomery or about your district. We've also, throughout the course of the evening, asked the council candidates what they liked best about their district, because we're just curious. So, your thoughts about your district now and the improvements that you would like to see, and we'll start with the incumbent, Mr. Jenwright.
Well, I think that bottom line is the traffic. I mean, you brought up the racing, the car racing. I would like to put a large tax on some cars we got because it's ridiculous how outstanding they've gotten. But there again, our police department is so depleted, we don't have enough police officers to give the tickets that need to be given to these particular cars and racing in Montgomery. That's a real big problem. We're down to over 100 officers. But one of the reasons that our officers are not being supported by our court system. You don't know how bad our county court system is, but our county court system we've created a murder. Right now you've got probably well over 200 people that have been arrested for murder that have not gone to court yet. They're on bond, they're on some other reason, but they're not in jail, okay? Unless they can't get out on bond. And we got a law at the state level that was passed about 3 years ago. I think the name was Amanda's Law, where the girl got killed from Auburn.
Anaya's Law.
Anaya's Law.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. But if you like, if you can wrap it up.
Anaya's Law. The guy that killed her was on a $250,000 bond from Montgomery for murder. Okay.
And Ms. Schuyler, what you like best about your district and what you would improve about your district?
I love the diversity of our restaurants. I mean, I can go down, Vaughn Road. I love Asia Bistro. I go over to Sushi Box, Noodles Cafe. I love the feel of our community. I love everything about the restaurant scene in District 9. But, the shining star is Shakespeare Park. That is where I take, anyone who comes to visit, that's one of the first places we go. I love the museum. I love, going to see a play, and of course feeding the geese and all those kinds of things. Dog park is beautiful. One thing that definitely could be improved would be the infrastructure. I can say even in Wind Lakes we have issues, but that Halcyon area right near the school, it is a big problem. there needs to be speed bumps. There needs to be a another set of stop signs. You can't get out when you're coming off of, I believe that's that's Halcyon Boulevard to take a left to go to CVS. You can't get out. There are multiple situations like that. Traffic is terrible, but the bigger thing is right near that school, it is a drag strip. Somebody's going to get killed, and then we'll do something about it.
Thank you, Ms. Schreier and Mr. Jenright, for joining us tonight. Those are your District 9 City Council candidates. Let's give them a round of applause. We appreciate y'all joining us. You can head out that way. It's so nice to meet you. And that is going to do it for our forum. We want to thank you all for watching online. We also want to thank our host, the Alabama Department of Archives and History tonight, and our partners we mentioned at the top, Faith in Action Alabama, One Montgomery, the League of Women Voters, and the Metro Montgomery County NAACP. We'll be posting this forum on all of our digital platforms. That's our YouTube page, our Facebook page, WSFA.com, so that you can share this link with your friends on social media, and all of you can go back and re-watch portions of this forum so you can better decide who you want to vote for in the upcoming election. Remember, Montgomery's municipal election is August 22nd. That's a little over a week from tonight. Be sure to go to the City of Montgomery's website or the Secretary of State's office, that website, to learn more about the election process and where you can go to vote. And we remind you to vote because it is so important. I'm Mark Bullock on behalf of all of us at WSFA 12 News. Thanks again for watching tonight.